Hello and welcome to episode number 63 of The Pitcher or the Hitter, the podcast by the M-SABR Dynasty League for the M-SABR Dynasty League. I am Cam.
I'm Sahil.
And boy, oh boy, we have a good one for you today. We are going to be doing a very special draft of players in the Fantrax database. Not necessarily the best players, but the most fun players. We'll talk about that later. But before we do that, we've been kind of on a weird recording schedule. We've been planning on recording this episode tonight. We recorded earlier today an emergency podcast that should already be out. Well, it is already out. I know that because it's out at the time of recording. But
you were the one who
about
it up.
Yeah,
so you should know.
I should know.
Yeah.
But this was about the Rendon trade, which we thought warranted its own little spotlight away from this episode. But about an hour before recording, another trade was made. This trade between Andrew and EBO. And we thought, well, we're not going to do another emergency podcast. We don't have time for that. We're already recording this right now. Why not just throw this at the start? So that's what we're doing right now. Let's talk about this big trade. I know you have strong feelings about it.
Yeah, I do. But let's go over all the details first. So the Chrome Zone traded Spencer Torkelson, Tariq Skubal, Kyber Ruiz, Andrew's 2023 first round pick, my 2024 first round pick, and Anthony's 2025 second round pick to EBO in exchange for Bobby Witt Jr., Shane Baz, Zach Gallen, Zach Veen, and the 11th overall selection in the 2022 draft. You want me to unpack this first?
Yeah, go for it. There's a lot to unpack. A lot of prospects and picks moving.
Yeah. I think by now most, if not all of you, have seen my initial reaction in the podcast that this was one of the most lopsided deals in league history. Maybe I went just a little overboard, just a little bit. I tend to do that sometimes, but sometimes. But I do think EVO loses this deal. I think an interesting way for us to break down this deal is to look at how Zane and Max decided to break it down. So Zane posted something saying that he kind of broke it down into 5 different parts. So let's tackle them each. Bobby Witt for Spencer Torkelson was the first one. I personally think that Bobby Witt is a little better of a prospect than Spencer Torkelson. I think Bobby Witt's going to play a position that is a little less deep, either third base or shortstop. I do think that overall he is a little better hitter. I do think he brings some speed to the table, which in fantasy is really hard to get. I don't think we're necessarily going to get that from Torkelson. I think overall, just like from all the rankings I've seen, it seems like people tend to prefer Witt over Torkelson, although they are both obviously very good players. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so I think, well, first of all, I think this deal, it is lopsided in Andrew's favor, but also with these all being prospects, a lot of it just comes down to personal preference. So it is hard to, Andrew got more value and his team's in a better spot. But also if Zane has a preference among these prospects, then I wouldn't say it's the worst thing ever. And I know he likes Torkelson. He is not just a Tigers fan, but a Tigers writer. And he's going to get to see Torkelson a lot over the next however long. And if he wants Torkelson, sure, I would rather have Witt, but I'm not shocked or anything by Zane preferring Torkelson here.
No, I agree. I'm not shocked that he prefers Torkelson. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad decision. Like if they had made that trade 1-for-1, I wouldn't have really thought much of it in terms of value. But I think that in addition to, really wanting to go out and get your guy and understanding that hey, prospects, may pan out, they may not pan out, who knows? I think you also have to read the value a bit. And I get that he probably needed to overpay a bit to go out and get Torkelson, but I think that at some point that value proposition became too much. And I think we're going to see this when we break down the other pieces he discussed. So the next one was Shane Baz or Tariq Skubal. Personally, and I know Tariq Skubal has already made it to the majors, but I'd rather have Shane Baz. I mean, Shane Baz broke out in a huge way in the minors this year. He's in an organization that really does a good job of putting together, solid pitching. I get that there might be a little more of an innings limit with him, but I think that Baz is better than Skubal. He was more highly ranked as a prospect than Skubal ever was. I think Baz and Grayson Rodriguez are the consensus top two arms in the minors right now in some order. I think my main concern with Skubal is he had a good K rate and walk rate in the majors, but hit a 2.11 homer per 9 this year in 149 and a third innings in Detroit. And I'm a little worried about that number moving forward. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I'd rather have Baz than Skubal. Skubal's value, and a lot of pitchers, they're like a used car. Their value drops tremendously the second they get called up.
Right.
And I think Skubal's value has dropped quite a bit. Last offseason, shortly before the draft, Zane traded Skubal for a bunch of picks, including pick 11 and pick 13. Zane kept pick 11 and took Austin Hendrick. Zane traded pick 13 to Yuki, who took Robert Hassel. So that's a lot of value for Skubal. And I think his value has certainly gone down, but in a league of Tigers fans, maybe the value is a little inflated. Either way, I think I like Baz a lot. He's probably the second best pitching prospect out there. He has also made the majors, and I think he's clearly better than Skubal.
What's interesting to me is that I recall Zane being a little lower on Skubal a year ago when he traded him away, because I think we were all surprised that he traded him away. And I'm curious what changed. I don't know if this is just kind of a byproduct of the deal, like he needed to get another pitcher in there, or if he's had a change opinion about Skubal after watching him for a full year in Detroit. But that was a little interesting to me. Let's look here at the next kind of swap that he broke down. He says Zach Veen for Andrew's 2023 first round pick. Now, when you and I were discussing this earlier, we were assuming that like, hey, this might be like a top 4 pick, lottery pick, whatever. But now I'm not sure. Because when you look at Andrew's team after this deal, I mean, I think you can make the argument it might be a playoff team. And as a matter of fact, we did just put on the spreadsheet in the hot takes column under the name TPOTH, the pitcher and a hitter. We both wanted credit for this one, that Andrew would be a playoff team this year. I
think it's a hot take, but I love it.
I love it too.
We looked at his roster today. We looked through it, wrote down all the players, and there's a playoff team here. I think this team's better than Anthony's. I think it's certainly suited better in the long term than Connor's team, which is a crazy thing to say, considering how he was building for the long term. I think. And I know Andrew's a listener. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
But anyway, Andrew, we think your team could make the playoffs this year. It's good on paper, and your rebuild is looking really good.
I agree. And I'll say, like, knowing that, I'm, like, kind of like, I'd rather have Veen than the 2023 first. Now, last year, if you recall when we did our draft episode, I was really high on Veen. I personally thought that he should have gone number 3 or number 4 to Alex instead of him taking Ha-Seong Kim. I was all on the Zach Veen hype train, and I still am. And I personally, like, I view him as a top 3, top 4 pick talent in a draft. And I think Andrew's team's going to be good enough next year where I'm not necessarily sure that's the case. Now, that being said, I think next year's draft is particularly good, but I wonder if it's going to end up being kind of like 3 to 4 really elite guys that we didn't see in this draft that we're about to have next week. And I think if, like, for example, if Marcelo Meyer was an extra draft, I think he'd end up going like 4 or 5, or not number 1. And I wonder if by the time Andrew comes around to pick, there's a chance that that type of talent might not necessarily be there. And given that, I'd rather have the guarantee of a talent that I really like than kind of having to gamble that Andrew's pick is going to be, enough to get like a Drew Jones or a Termar Johnson or one of those really elite guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that pick is certainly valuable. With Andrew's team improving, you really never know, like you said. But I would rather have Veen. I agree than that pick, and I'd probably rather have Boz than that pick too. Although it's certainly fairly close.
I'd much rather have Boz in the pick because Boz has made the majors.
Yeah.
You want to dive into the next part of this? There's Zach Gallen for my 2024 first. I know Gallen had a down year, but I'd like to think I'm still going to be a playoff team in 2024, and Gallen is still very young and was coming off 2 fantastic seasons. I'd much rather have Gallen.
Yeah, I'd probably rather have Gallen than the first. I think it's decently fair, and I think there's certainly an argument to be made. Say your pick is, say your pick is 10 or 11 this year.
Well, it took 2024.
2024. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not, I was thinking 2023. So it's tough. There's certainly a chance that that pick could be 7 or 8 or something. And in which case, I think that may be a bit of an overpay for Gallen. Either way. So this is a 1-to-1 comparison. I can kind of see both sides. But again, it's just part of a deal where Zane has lost a couple of 1-to-1 comparisons.
Yeah, and then I think there's one 1-to-1 comparison that he does win, and that's kind of the bottom 1-to-1 comparison, and that's him trading 11 for Kyber Ruiz and Anthony's 2025 second. I don't think this is a particularly deep draft, so I don't mind him giving up 11. He needs a catcher of the future after trading away Wilson Contreras. That's where Kyber Ruiz fits in really nicely. And I think in the second round pick is a little added bonus to him. So that part of the swap I really like. And if he was winning like 2 of these other 4 swaps, I'd be down with this. But I don't think he wins enough of these kind of individual swaps where it kind of all cumulatively adds together. I really couldn't pronounce that word today. To become a good trade for him. And I get it. He really wanted Torkelson, and I get that he had to probably overpay a bit, but I don't think that means that he also had to include both Baz and Veen to get a deal done. Maybe he only could have included one of them and maybe included a lesser second piece. I don't know. That's my major hang up with this. I do think this speeds up Andrew's competitive timeline, and I think you're right. I think he is building one of the more sustainable winners here, because when you're looking at some of the guys he has now, I think I might have deleted what I wrote out to you. Actually, here it is. I sent it to you. He has Will Smith, Ozzie Albies, Jake Cronenworth, Bobby Wood Jr., Brian Hayes, Dansby Swanson, Brian Reynolds, Luis Urias, Josh Jung, Shane Baz, Zach Gallen, Herman Marquez, Tanner Houck, Ranger Suarez, Jordan Montgomery, Reed Detmers, like Jesus Luzardo. These are a lot of really good young players like that can easily contribute to the next winning team. And I'm not saying they're all going to pan out, but I think a lot of them are going to pan out or have already panned out. And this is a team on the rise. I think Andrew has done the most to improve his team this offseason, and a good chunk of it was because of this one deal. And you're welcome, Andrew, after you all took a dump on Evil and on Who Cares You Suck. But I'll be nice.
Yeah, so back to Keibert Ruiz real quick. I think, so that comparison, if we're calling that a comparison, Evil, you got me saying that now. EBO has its catcher now. We were waiting for them to get a catcher. We were thinking they could go for Joey Bart. we were thinking that they would use 11 to draft Harry Ford. I think Ruiz and a future second for Ford is a very big win for them. Ruiz has already played in the majors, I believe.
He has.
He's a better prospect than Ford. So I think that's a clear win for them. That balances out one of their losses in the comparison. It may balance out, and this is just kind of me thinking out loud. I'm not sure what the math would look like, but it probably balances out even a second one of the comparisons. And then at this point, does that make it personal preference between Torkelson and Witt? And if Zane likes Torkelson, then I could see how this deal could be construed as something that's favorable to him.
Well, let's put it this way: if we're going to assume for a second that Witt and Torkelson is basically equal, which, like, fair, they're both top 10 prospects. Like, I think when you're comparing guys like that, I feel like you're kind of splitting the hairs here. It's not really as big of a deal. And if we're assuming that Kyber, the Kyber swap favors Zane, I think either the Baz swap or the Veen swap would need to weigh in Zane's favor for me to say, like, hey, this is an even deal. I don't think that happens here. And that's why I can't say it's a good deal for Zane. Now, if instead of Zach Veen, for example, he included Austin Hendrick, and suddenly we're looking at like Austin Hendrick for your 2023 first, yeah, I think this is more of a fair deal. Maybe even if it was somebody like a Jordan Groshans, who I've kind of soured on a little bit. But
I think that would maybe tip it in the favor of EBO. It's hard because it really depends on does the clear win of Ruiz for 11 and the future second do enough? Is that a big enough win to balance out the losses in Veen for the pick and the other one, whichever one it was? There's so much to follow.
Well, two things. One, I kind of disagree if your characterization as Kyber and the second for 11 is a clear win, because I think there is still a little bit of risk in Kyber's profile. And also, a lot of these catchers, like, for them to really be kind of quote unquote worth it, I feel like they need to be kind of a top 5 option. Now, Kyber could get there, but we're not 100% sure yet. So I want to throw a little bit of caution kind of there,
I guess, but I'm making the assumption that they would have taken Harry Ford at 11, who is also a catcher who is more risky and further away from the majors and less high of a prospect.
I like Harry Ford a lot, so maybe I'm just a little biased that way. I think Harry Ford could be one of the better players that come out of this draft. So, or in one of the better draft values. So we also don't know who's going to be available at 11. Obviously, that caveat. But I think you and I maybe have a slight disagreement there over that valuation, and that's kind of driving it. But yeah, I mean, basically, like, giving up Witt and Baz and Veen, that's 3 top 20 prospects. And, Zane's only getting 1 top 20 prospect. And yeah, maybe Andrew's 2023 first eventually ends up being a top 20 prospect. And maybe my 2024 first ends up being a top 20 prospect, but we don't know that for sure. And in fact, I think there's reasons to doubt that those picks are going to be high end around. So, a perfectly acceptable overpay would have been 2 top 20 prospects for 1 top 20 prospect, given the rest of the stuff in the deal. An appropriate overpay here is not 3 top 20 prospects for 1 top 20 prospect, knowing what else is in the deal.
I think you're forgetting that Ruiz is already a top 50 prospect and he's played in the majors.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that he's going to come up and it means he's a good value. Don't get me wrong. He's definitely like a top 50 prospect. I buy all of that, but like, I don't know just how good of a major league, or not major league player. I don't know how good of a fantasy asset he's going to be. I think he's a top 10 dynasty catcher, but I'm not ready to say he's a top 5, dynasty catcher. Let's say a top 10 dynasty catcher right now, or like a top 10 fantasy catcher right now. Let me pull up some fantasy catcher rankings right now. we're talking about the range of like a Travis Darno, Christian Vasquez, like Sean Murphy, Carson Kelly. Like, I think it's still more likely that Kiber is closer to that than he is to Will Smith, JT Realmuto, Sal Perez. Let's say he settles in as like the 7th or 8th best catcher. I think it makes him a very valuable asset, like one that should be on a team. But I don't know if that's going to outweigh the substantial upside that you're going to get from, Baz and Veen and even part of the Gallon swap.
I don't know. I still would say that Andrew wins this deal, and I think his team looks really good. And the fact that he has Will Smith, so Ruiz isn't necessarily a player he needs.
He also has Tyler Stevenson too.
So he was more than happy to give up Ruiz. Like I was more than happy to give up Ruiz last year when I traded him to Andrew. I think that it's not crazy lopsided, even if Andrew probably wins the deal.
Anything else you want to say about this? I mean, I think we both kind of agreed that Zane lost this deal. I think you maybe are a little softer on him than I am. And I think a lot of it stems from your opinion on Kiber Ruiz.
And I think they're all prospects. It's a deal involving a whole bunch of prospects. It's going to be hard to call it like a huge overpay or super lopsided unless there's something clearly wrong with it.
Oh, look, I mean, we're probably like 5 years from now, if we're still doing this podcast, this is the type of deal we're going to break down again and like really analyze. And we're going to.
We are not done talking about this deal. This is going to get many anniversaries.
This is what we've made almost 400 trades in the league now. We're actually coming really close to our 400 trade. We have now made 397 deals. Of those 397, this is definitely somewhere in the top 10 to 15. And so it's definitely going to get talked about again. The only point I'm going to make to you again, saying it's all prospects, is you still have to look at the value at the moment of these players. Every player is an asset. You need to value these assets and trade them like stocks at the appropriate moment where you can get the right amount of value. And I think that while we don't know what's going to happen with these prospects from a pure value perspective at this moment, Zane failed to execute. And that's all I have to say on that.
Failed to execute sounds so harsh.
I'm all right with it. I mean, maybe my opinion's a little harsh and maybe I'll be eating crow about this in a couple of years, but I'm a big believer in, it's really important to get good value. You can construct a roster just putting together, like just getting good values and deals and in pickups and like whatever. And that's over time going to lead to a successful, roster. So I think above all else, you need to look at the value in the trade as opposed to, getting caught up in the names sometimes.
All right. Well, we've talked about this more than enough. We're going to take a break right now, and we'll come back with our draft. I'm excited to do that.
Yes, I am very excited as well.
We've been waiting a long time.
We have.
All right.
No, 'cause you're making me a better man. Oh, no, 'cause I had things breaking, and they ended up taking nothing of value, nothing of value. 'Cause you made a house to a home. If I was living here alone, it'd be nothing without you, nothing without you.
We are back now, and it's time for the moment that the two of us have been waiting for. I'm not sure if anyone else has, but it is our Fantrax Draft. And what this is, how should I explain this? Basically, when Sahil and I were doing our draft for the new Dynasty League that we're doing with Eric and Jake and some people we don't know who are very intense, we discovered that the Fantrax database has a whole bunch of weird players, a bunch of people who are long retired, a bunch of old favorites, a bunch of minor leaguers who haven't played since 2007 that no one's ever heard of. Either way, it is super deep. And we thought, there are a lot of really fun names in here. Why don't we draft them, make a team? So that's what we're doing. We're drafting people who are just kind of fun. And there's no real rules. Our criteria kind of, at least the way I thought of it, I want guys who are first and foremost M-SABR legends, guys who are former major leaguers who were solid for a while, perhaps, and haven't played in a long time, or even guys who are just like, hey, remember this guy. Or the last kind of segment of people I wanted was people with funny names. Or sometimes some people on my list are all three of those things, as in a guy who I'm expecting is going to go in the top 4. So really, this was open-ended. We just kind of thought it'd be fun to remember some names, tell some stories about some old players that we like, and put together a team that'll make the other person laugh.
Yeah, oh boy, I've been looking forward to this for a while now, since you and I first talked about this a few weeks ago. I feel like my strategy here is I basically, with every player I pick, I want to be able to have a story about them that I can tell. So that was kind of my criteria. I cycled through a lot of names. I spent a lot of time going through all 10,000 or whatever players in this database. I know Cam and I kind of have some internal rankings. I think we're both curious how often the other snipes the other, so that'll be interesting. But thanks to I believe Connor, Cam does hold the first overall pick in the draft, and if you're ready, you want to get underway?
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm excited to see how different our boards are, how similar they are. I am guessing that they're more similar than you think they are.
I think so too. I have that feeling.
All right. But yeah, I have the first pick, and there's really only one person it could have been. With the first pick, I've named my team the Cans, and I've selected Giovanni Gallardo, of course, the ultimate M-SABR player. He pitched for the Reds, the Orioles, and the Mariners. He was to varying degrees of success. We started the Gallardo Club because of him. The Gallardo Cup is named after him. You, me, and Greg have T-shirts with his name on them. He is M-SABR. We named the Gallardo Awards after him. He had a 30.86 ERA with the Reds in 2 1/3 innings in 2018. When me and Greg lived together, our password for the Wi-Fi was Gallardo 3086. There's just, what else is there to say about him? He was great for the Brewers for a while. He was horrible for the Reds. They replaced him with Zach Weiss, who was even worse.
Oh man!
And maybe they replaced him with Tanner Rainey, who was really bad.
Wasn't Zach Weiss a Gallardo Award winner himself?
He was, and he's. I hope I'm not giving too many things away by saying that he is on my big board. We might be talking about him later, so I'm not going to talk too much. But either way, whoever they replaced him with was replaced by Dylan Floro, who became one of my surprising favorite Reds. But yeah, pick number 1 in the books, Giovanni Gallardo.
Oh man, yeah. The only other thing I'll add is remember when he hit that home run off of Randy Johnson?
I don't remember it, but I remember seeing that fun fact many times.
All right. Well, I just wanted to make sure you were aware of the fun fact because it is a very important fact. And wow, are you ready for the second overall pick?
I am.
With the second overall pick, I feel like you can never go wrong with starting off your team by drafting players in the prime defensive position. So center field, shortstop, catcher. With the second overall pick, Giovanni is a wonder can, better than can. Omar Quintanilla.
Ooh. He was on my board.
Was he?
Are you going to select him in the actual
Just
draft?
did.
There he is. Yeah, he was on my board. He was fairly high. I remember him from Stratomatic. Go ahead and talk about him.
Yeah, Omar Quintanilla was a Stratomatic legend. He was just always there, always dependable. We would just kind of fit him in at random times. He just kind of became a giant meme. I'm pretty sure he's the one player that my non-baseball loving roommate remembers from the times he would watch us play Strato. He played with the Orioles in 2012, so I have some fond memories of him from that year. That was the year they made it to the playoffs. After coming off a rough 2011 where he had a negative 74 WRC plus.
I'm going to cut you off right here. A trade was just made.
Oh.
The executive batting order has agreed to trade Charlie Blackmon, Connor's 2023 second, and your 2023 second to Deep Sea Devers for Ruthvik and Nick's 2023 first and Tommy Pham.
Wow, Zane clearly wins that trade. He got a first round pick for Charlie Blackmon.
Yeah.
Charlie Blackmon? Tommy Pham probably has more upside than Charlie Blackmon. What the heck?
I don't know why Ruthvik did this. Ruthvik, I guess, must have been so desperate to get rid of Pham, but why not cut him? I mean, Blackmon's, I think you're a little low on Blackmon, but also I think the first round pick is the best asset in the deal.
No, I think so too. But did you see Blackmon's numbers last year?
They weren't great, but they were.
He had 13 home runs and 3 stolen bases and 582 plate appearances. The 351 OBP is nice, but like, he's a little washed up.
He's a little washed up. I guess, yeah. I thought 2020 was better than it actually was. Maybe he had a hot start in 2020, a slow the rest of the year. But yeah, I mean, I think Tommy Pham might be the second best player in the deal. No, I think I'd rather have Blackmon than Pham.
Okay, fair. I'll grant you that, but neither of them are particularly relevant. The first round pick is what's relevant. Pham was on the waiver wire at different points this past year, and honestly, Charlie Blackmon's getting close to that point, in my opinion. He's not quite there because he plays every day, but he's getting kind of close. You can find a 350 OBP and 15 homers off the waiver wire.
Maybe.
You're telling me Jock Peterson couldn't do that?
I mean, yeah, I like Jock Peterson a decent amount. I think he'd be better than that.
Right, exactly. And Jock Peterson's still in free agency. So
Andrew just commented that Chuck is irrelevant. He does not seem to like this deal for Ruthvik.
I don't think anybody does. Oh man.
Anyway,
back to a real Rocky legend, Omar Quintanilla. Did you know Omar Quintanilla played for the Rockies from 2005 to 2009?
I don't think I did know that.
Yeah.
He's listed in Fantrax as a Rocky.
Yeah.
So he must have signed a minor league deal with them at some point 7 years ago.
Oh, let's see. Let's see what the case is. He did. He was released after appearing in only 2 games with the Modesto Nuts.
Nice.
What a name for a team.
What a name. By the way, another draft rule that I may not have specified. We are only drafting people who are available to be drafted in this Fantrax league. A lot of great names. I know I wanted to take Bronson Arroyo. He's not available. A lot of great names are not on the list, sadly. And also, we're doing a snake draft. So the next pick is also Sahil's.
Yes. Cam's not going to like this pick.
Oh.
With the 3rd overall pick in this draft, what are we calling this draft?
I don't know.
In this draft, we'll think of a good name later. The draft before name.
The draft to be named later.
The draft to be named later. There you go. I want
Perfect.
that. The DTBNO. I am taking, let's see if I can find him here, Philip Irving,
Really?
who was most definitely on your draft board.
Flurvin?
Irving.
He was on my draft board. Not this high. It's interesting. You gave me two names.
I did.
No, not you gave me two, I guess, criteria for players that you said would be your clear one, top two. I came up with two names in my head. You said one of them was pitcher. You did not take that pitcher. And now all of a sudden, I had those two guys, 3 and 4 on my board. You took neither of them. And now I don't know what to do with my next two picks because I have my 2, 3, and 4 are all on the board and they're great.
Take your
so
2
we're gonna
and 3
see.
then. But let's talk about Phil Irving first. He's flirting. That's all I have to say. Phil Irving is one of those, I feel like, M-SABR dynasty memes that you just love. Anytime I see Phil Irving's name in the chat, I get really happy. He's also a true third Gallardo. He's got to play for the Reds and the Mariners. I felt like that gave him an extra edge. And honestly, I thought you were going to draft him pretty early, so I didn't want to miss out on flirting. We do have to draft 5 outfielders, and I wanted to make sure I was able to fill all 5 outfield spots. And I didn't want to just draft a bunch of Orioles players. So Philip Irving, great guy. He was my pick. Flurvin, I thought he spent 2021 with the Braves, but he didn't. He was with the Braves briefly in 2020, so no World Series ring for him. But Flurvin, you're up.
All right. So I've got some decisions to make. My first pick here, I am taking maybe the other most enduring M-SABR legend. But this one is one who is way more directly tied to me than anyone else. Maybe this player is the most, with the exception of maybe Giovanni, but probably even more than Giovanni, is the one player who my legacy is entwined with his. I'm taking Phil Koch.
No, I wanted Phil Koch, motherfucker.
Yeah. Phil Koch, you all know I've written many articles about him. He is, I don't know how he became my guy, but he did. He's Phil Koch. I've made a team out of him. I've made a league out of him. I've sent him to the Pecos League. I've won 523 games with him. I'm ride or die with Phil Koch, and he is listed as still in Fantrax. Where was he on your board?
He was pretty high on my board. Honestly, I'm kind of glad that he went to you, though, because I think it's really fitting that you're kind of like the Phil Koch guy and you got Phil Koch. I feel like I'd feel kind of bad if I took Phil Koch and then like just told your story. So I'm glad you got Phil Koch. Phil Koch was very high on my draft board. He was my top reliever.
All right. And yeah, I am up again with my next pick. And I'm taking a player. I'm shocked you didn't take him last round, unless you forgot about him. Because you said that you had a player near the top of your board who you were expecting me to have forgotten about, perhaps.
Okay.
Was that Omar Quintanilla or was that someone else?
That was Omar Quintanilla.
Oh, so maybe you've forgotten about him. I have this guy. He's number 4 on my board. Number 2 I've not taken because I had to take Phil Koch, and I'm moving this guy ahead of my number 2.
Oh.
This guy's an outfielder, and I am going to watch his name show up on your screen and wait for your reaction.
DJ Neal.
DJ Neal.
Yes.
Yes.
I did not. I might have seen his name in here. Let me see if I have him on my list.
DJ Neal.
No, I don't have him on my list. That means I missed him.
Oh, so my third pick was off your board entirely.
Wow. If I hadn't, hold on. Let me double check my big list because I did make some.
No, if he was anywhere on your list, he would have been top 5.
Wow, I didn't see him. DJ Neal. Oh my
DJ
God,
Neal.
DJ
So
Neal. What else do you need to say other than DJ Neal?
for the
Go ahead.
backstory, for those of you who may not know it, in 2019, when Sahil, myself, Zane, and Yuki lugged our nuts up to Lansing to see a Lugnuts game, we went to that game to watch Wander Franco, and Franco had a good game, but one player caught our attention and captured our hearts, and it was Lugnuts outfielder DJ Neal. And I really don't know what it was about him, I guess, why we were drawn to him, but he just kind of became our guy. We started rooting for him. We, on the drive back, sang songs but inserted his name into them. I don't know.
These videos somewhere.
DJ Neal's our guy, and I'm happy to have him on my team. And he's my top prospect, I guess.
It's somewhere on my phone. I will find this, but yeah, we had quite the ball yelling DJ Neal's name. Those are 3 great picks to start out your draft. I mean, talk about M-SABR legends.
Oh, absolutely.
I think I'm damn.
And there's still one M-SABR legend remaining. We'll see if you pick him this time or if I get him.
Well, there's another M-SABR legend.
There are a lot of M-SABR legends remaining, but there's one guy at the tip top.
Well, I'll say with my pick here, do you remember our good friend Max Brill?
Oh, I know who this is.
Yeah, you know who this is?
I know who this is going to be.
Max Brill introduced us to a wonderful player during one of the M-SABR meeting games.
Number 12 on my board.
Number 12 on your board, Tommy Jew.
Tommy Jew.
Outfielder for the Cardinals. I really feel like the Philip Irving, Tommy Jew outfield is really just kind of like, just really elite. A Jew Irving or Jervins. Jervins was also an M-SABR legend. Boy, that summer of 2019 was a fun one.
That was. So why don't you tell the story of Tommy Jew, bearing in mind for those listening that Max Brill is Jewish, so it's okay that he did this.
Yeah. If I recall correctly, you might remember this one better actually. Didn't he do one of those like guess the name of the players, or like he put up 3 old like baseball cards like on the PowerPoint and was like guess like who it is, and one of them happened to be Tommy Jew, and we all thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, so basically I had done a thing for holidays. Well, it started out Steve Christmas. I put 3 pictures up on the board of old baseball players. I said, one of these guys is Steve Christmas. Try and figure out which one of them is. And that was a fun game. I did again with Luke Easter and maybe someone else, Kurt Valentine or something. And then to end the year, Max Brill puts 3 pictures up on the board and says, hey, one of these 3 guys is an outfielder the Cardinals just drafted named Tommy Jew. I want you to guess who it is. Which one of these 3 guys is named Tommy Jew? and we guessed, and I think we guessed wrong.
I think we did. But the legend of Tommy Jew still lives on.
It does.
Like a great holiday story.
And
oh man,
I remember sitting front and center, and I was kind of the point man to this because I think I was the only other Jewish person in the room.
You probably were. I'm trying to think if there's any others. Not that I remember off the top of my head.
I'm not sure. It's Michigan, so there probably was.
Probably were. That was also like, I feel like one of my first meetings, so I don't really remember who else was there. Obviously some of the classics, but
yeah. Oh, this would have been 2018, right?
2018, yeah.
Yeah.
This was one of the last meetings of 2018, I think.
Yeah, because they were announcing that Max and Duncan were taking over, and that was Max's introduction.
Yes. Oh man, good times.
Good times.
You ready for my next pick?
I certainly am.
Well, let's go back to the year of 2017. The M-SABR 2017 season preview bold predictions. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Oh, I do now.
This player takes a leap forward from last season and finishes with 65 steals, good enough to lead the MLB. That player was Travis Jankowski.
Yeah.
Yes. Another M-SABR legend. I remember the amount of times he was mentioned our first year in the league. That's so Travis Jankowski. If we're going to pull up his stolen base numbers from 2017, I wish I had this up. He's out 30. Travis Jankowski in 2017 stole 4 bases. He had a 41 WRC plus. So his WRC plus was lower than the number of stolen bases that we predicted. Now, in all fairness, he did have 30 stolen bases the season before and only 383 plate appearances. But I think it's pretty hilarious that he only finished with 4 stolen bases that year. That was one of the worst bold predictions I've ever seen.
And that's good. Jankowski was not on my board.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm honored to have picked somebody who wasn't on your board, but somebody who I'm willing to bet if you remembered him would have been on your board.
He would have been on my board. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. All right. What are your 2 picks? I have to say, every time I make a pick, I'm nervous because I'm like, I have no basis on like how to rank these. So like maybe I'm making a really bad pick. I don't know.
I am up next and I'm going to get, I think on my board, I think there was a tier break after 4. The top 4 in my mind.
How many of those top 4 have been drafted?
So the top 4 in my mind were Giovanni Gallardo.
Okay.
The player I'm about to draft.
Okay.
Phil Koch and DJ Neal. And I'm about to get all 4 of them.
I'd say there's a tier break out for Giovanni, but go for it.
Well, yeah. So I'm taking a player. I'll throw you back to 2018.
Okay.
We had just finished the first season of the Elite League, where we all chose great player names. My team was Norris Hopper. No, this was 2017, the first season of the Elite League. You had not joined M-SABR yet. We're
depending on who the player is, I may or may not have.
Max Bear.
Who I think it is, then yeah, I was there for that.
Wait, what'd you say?
If it's who I'm thinking it is, yeah, I think I was there for that.
Okay, well, I don't think you were there for this. So this was, we're hanging out in Zane's old house, the place he lived in sophomore year, down across from the IM building. We're watching the Cubs against someone in the wild card game. Was it Cubs Brewers?
No, I remember this. I was there. I had to work on law school applications during that time. So I sat there while you all were watching the game, trying to do law school applications and also watching the game.
Are you? I guess maybe this was 2018. Yeah, it would have been 2018 then. Okay, but you didn't join M-SABR at this point. This was Zane's house. It was not the house that he lived in the summer of 2019 and all of 2019.
No, it was that house. I remember that house. I went to that house.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, so we were hanging out. There were balloons on the ground and we were bouncing them around.
Yep.
Okay. I did not realize you were there.
I was
anyway, there. We were, and what we would, if you got hit in the head with a balloon, we would say, because remember,
it is
there's a player who was fresh in our minds from the Elite League. We would say, you just got boofed, and my team just got boofed. With my 5th pick, I'm taking Boof Bonzer.
Fuck, I did not see his name on there. I would have 100% had Boof Bonzer at the top of my board. I mean, I'm happy I got Tommy Jew and Travis Jankowski, both M-SABR legends, but damn, you're knocking it out of the park.
I am. I got my top 4 guys. Boof Bonzer, former Twins pitcher, amazing name. When I alluded before the show about a guy, I said I wanted guys who were M-SABR legends. I wanted guys who've been out of the game for a while, and you kind of get the reaction, oh, I remember this guy. And I want guys with funny names. And I also alluded to the fact that there's a guy high on my board who's going to be picked early, who is all three of those. And I was thinking of Boof Bonser.
God damn. When was the last time Boof Bonser even played?
I don't know, but yeah, Boof Bonser. You just got boofed.
Wow.
There was a Venmo payment from Greg to someone like, you just got boofed with a bunch of emojis, and it was really funny, and that kind of was a thing for a while. I'm not doing it justice, but yeah, okay, yeah, now that I think about it, this was 28. Why are you? I'm not sure when this was, but I guess if you were there, then
this was fall 2018. I was
fall
there.
2018. Did he?
It was
Because in spring 20,
it was the Cubs played the Rockies. That's what it was. As the Cubs played the Rockies, and the Rockies won.
But in winter 2019, Zane was not living there.
Maybe it wasn't Zane's house.
No, it was absolutely Zane's house.
Oh.
No. It was Duncan's house.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, I'm there we go. I'm conflating two memories in my mind. Yeah. It was Duncan's house.
That's right, because Duncan was a Cubs fan. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were watching. Okay.
Do you want to guess who the winning pitcher in that game was?
Oh God, Mike Montgomery.
Scott Oberg.
Oof. Oh yeah, that's right. The Rockies won.
Yeah, the losing pitcher was my boy Kyle Hendricks.
Wow. Yeah.
Very-
Okay. Yeah, it was Duncan's house. He lived kind of back in that little, like, those weird neighborhoods with skinny roads kind of between South Quad and Elbow Field.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh man, that was a good night. I got no work done, but it was a great night.
Yeah, and the Zane party was the previous year for a playoff game. The one thing I remember, we ordered a pizza from Cottage Inn, and I was the one who ordered the pizza, and people Venmoed me back. And they had me read my credit card number out loud while there was a room of people, and we kind of thought it was funny.
Damn. I hope somebody remembers it.
Yeah. Anyway, I am up next. The next two names on my board are pitchers, but I already have three pitchers, so I'm going to go a little bit off board and take an outfielder. And this is a guy, he still has minor league eligibility. He was someone who was actually drafted in our first ever prospect draft, in the 2019 prospect draft, to much fanfare. With my fifth pick, I'm taking Kyler Murray, outfielder for the Oakland Athletics.
Damn. I thought it was either going to be him or the other outfielder, but great pick. I remember the meme.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. It was one of the better moments.
Jose Peraza was traded for Kyler Murray.
We all thought it was a ripoff, and neither of them really ended up doing much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Although Kyler is having a really good football career, so good for him.
He's having a very good football career. Yeah, he is. Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah. Kyler Murray was near the top of my board.
Okay.
So yeah, you have definitely robbed me there. Congratulations on that. There's a couple really good players I could go with here. I have a couple here kind of lined up in the player queue. A couple of M-SABR legends, I would say, or maybe just a legend to you or me. Who knows? I feel like I'm gonna go with this. Actually, let me check one thing quickly, because if this is true, this would be a legendary pick. But if not, that's okay too. No, I'm gonna go with this pick. I feel very excited about it. With my pick here, I'll be taking another M-SABR legend feel like I'm not doing as good of a job as picking M-SABR legends as you, and I'm kind of disappointed on myself for that, but it's okay. Gordon Beckham.
Gordon Beckham. Okay. He was not on my board.
Really? Would he have been on your board if you remembered him?
Maybe, but I'm kind of blanking on why he's an M-SABR legend.
I know. I feel like Gordon Beckham just kind of became a meme after a while. Like, he's always mentioned. We'd always do like the little soccer ball emoji. Like, he's always just kind of this like joke. I don't know.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the soccer ball. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Gordon Beckham.
Gordon Beckham. Maybe I thought of him more as more than he actually was, but I really love Gordon Beckham. Also, as a player too, I really loved when Gordon Beckham came up. I thought it was kind of funny, just how things kind of played out for him. Or not really funny. It's kind of sad actually, but Gordon Beckham was like one of the first prospects I remember following. So I do have fond memories of Gordon Beckham.
Yeah, the first prospect that I remember ever being aware of is someone who's further down on my list.
Interesting. I was debating a couple names for this next pick. Some of whom I don't think are on your board, and part of me just kind of doesn't care about that because I just really want to talk about these players. But let me double check here to make sure there's nobody else on your board that I think that I really need to take right now, or else lose them. There is one M-SABR legend.
Okay, interesting.
And you know what? Let's go with the M-SABR legend here.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think you will appreciate this one, as will Greg, if that gives you a hint before I take said player.
Oh, is it? There's someone that jumps to mind, but he's someone I looked at but didn't put on because he played in the majors last year.
Oh, he might have played in the majors last year. Let me double check and see if we're thinking of the same person.
With St. Louis.
Oh, he did play in the majors last year, this guy. Ooh.
Is that Wade LeBlanc we're talking about?
No, but Wade LeBlanc would have been a good one. You ever wonder what happened to this guy? I'm gonna call an audible here. You ever wonder what happened with Scooter Gennett?
Ooh, he was high on my list.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scooter Gennett.
What a shame.
He was legitimately legit for a couple of years, and then just as soon as people started to realize, oh, he's not a fluke, his career got derailed by injuries so that people could once again say, oh, he was a fluke.
Yeah, I remember. I feel like he had a big contract extension he could have signed, but he was like really good. 23 homers, 4 stolen bases, 357 OBP, 125 WRC plus, and 638 plate appearances in 2018. He only had 139 plate appearances after that in his career. He had a 1.4% walk rate to 29.5% K rate in 2019, and then just never got it together.
Yeah, he was hurt for most of 2019. That's a great pick. One of my favorite Reds from the dark ages. I mean, the 4 home run game, obviously.
Yeah.
The name Scooter. And he is an M-SABR legend in his own right because of Scooter Fact.
Scooter Fact, the Scooter emoji.
The Scooter emoji.
The Scooter emoji. What a great emoji. And there you go. I feel like I got one really strong legend.
Yeah.
Not that Tommy Jew isn't also a really strong legend, or Omar Quintanilla, but I'm still a little salty you got Boof Bonzer.
Yeah, Boof Bonzer. There's still some legends out there.
No,
there's
some ones. Yeah.
Yeah, with my next pick, I'm taking a guy who I think is a legend in his own right. Actually, there's another legend a little further down my board that I'm going to move up a couple notches. Okay. This guy... and I'm a little hesitant to take my 4th starting pitcher. But this is a guy, what can I say other than he's got a great name. I like his name, and it's such a good name that his parents named him twice. I'm taking Henry.
Oh, I forgot about Henry.
Henry, starting pitcher for the San Diego Padres minor league system.
Oh, that's a good one.
Henry.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I don't
he
know
was a
much
top
about
100.
Henry, but that's a good one.
He was a borderline top 100 prospect for a little while, I think. And I
Was he?
remember.
Oh, no
I think
way.
so.
No
At one point,
way.
we were looking at back in 2019, we were looking at minor league games to go to, and I remember Henry being a draw, someone that we were like, yeah, we could go and see Henry, perhaps. Mostly because of the name, because of him being an M-SABR meme, but also because I think he was a legit interesting prospect for a little bit.
You search up Henry. Padres prospect Henry, capable of breaking out. This is an article from January 29, 2020 in the East Village Times.
Man, January 2020. What a simple time.
A much simpler time. Holy shit. They compare him to Luis Patino in this article.
Ooh, okay.
That's some
He
high
was also
grade.
a Padres prospect at the time.
He was. He is a 35 plus prospect or FV on Fangraphs, and he did make their top 39 Padres prospect list. Although he wasn't 39 or in that top 39, he must be one of those like notable like mentions later on. Let's see what they have to say about him if I can find him. Oh, here we go. Henry is a loose, low 3/4 relief prospect whose fastball plays beneath his raw arm strength. That is Henry.
That is Henry for you. He's loose.
He's very loose.
All right. But it's my turn to pick again. And this time I think I'm going to go with an infielder.
Oh.
And I am taking with my, 7? I'm taking Rougned Odor, but not the Rougned Odor who's in the majors. No, I am taking Rougned Odor's brother, Rougned Odor.
Oh, I love that.
And if for those of you who are confused, Rougned Odor is a second baseman. He played for the Rangers. His most notable accomplishment was punching a guy, but he was a reliable second baseman for a little while. He signed with the Yankees, or maybe he was traded. He played with them this year. He shaved his beard and it was super weird, but he has a brother who is also a second baseman in the minors for the Rangers. And his brother's name is Rougned Odor. He has the same name as his brother. And I chose the younger brother, the one who, Rougned Odor.
We should have drafted both Rougned Odor and Rougned Odor. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah, I could have if I was allowed to take 2 picks at the same time. I would.
You literally like every time you can like you have.
I mean, I guess picks. I could, but I wanted Henry.
I wanted Henry. That's fair. Well, there'll have to be some tough decisions here. I'll have to admit. I'm going to take the second starting pitcher on my board because I don't believe I've drafted a pitcher yet. I have not. This player has won a Cy Young Award. He is a definite ace. He's a Tiger legend, a Red Sox legend. I think you know who it is. It is Big Dig Rick Porcello.
Rick Porcello.
Remember how nuts I drive everyone and be like, Rick Porcello is an elite starting pitcher. That was my whole thing, like the first 2 years in the league. And then he kind of fell off. Remember when he signed with the Mets and Bruce Vick fucking hated him? And I'm like, I was just like, you know what? He's a Met now. Like, deal with it. And then I don't think Rick Porcello's gotten any interest this offseason. I have not heard a word about Rick Porcello. And that's a damn shame because I think somebody should really, really want Rick Porcello. Rick Porcello is a fun one. I don't know. Do you have any fond Rick Porcello memories that you would like to share with us?
I've got nothing. He won the Cy Young. A lot of Tigers fans think he should not have. A lot of non-Tigers fans think he should not have. But it happened. He did it.
Yeah. Oh, that was my other favorite thing. It would drive Sully nuts anytime I would say, "Hey, who deserved the Cy Young over Justin Verlander? Rick Porcello." It would drive everybody nuts, and I made it totally worth it. And I have no regrets whatsoever.
Yeah. So we're through 7 rounds now, and our boards, I don't think either of us have sniped the other. Our boards have been pretty different.
I mean, technically, you sniped Gallardo for me, but like we both knew that was going to be our first round, or first pick. So like, I'm
right. I guess you taking Tommy Jew was kind of a snipe. And I had Quintanilla and Scooter fairly high in my board, but not this high. So it's
Yeah. Oh, I'm debating a couple names here for the next pick because I did have a couple like lined up. I kind of have some good stories I want to tell about a couple of these guys. You know what? I don't think you have this guy on your board, but I really want him, and I don't care. While we were talking about the Red Sox, the 2011 season.
I think I know who this is.
Game 162.
Yep.
The player ended up having the game-winning hit. Robert Andino kicked in a great era of Orioles baseball. I had to have him on this team. He's kind of a little bit of a meme. Remember when there was thoughts that Robert Andino would be the shortstop of the future for the Marlins over Hanley Ramirez?
I do not remember that.
No, that's a damn shame. Do you remember when Robert Andino was traded for Hayden Penn, who used to be an Orioles top prospect, and then we soured on him?
I do not remember that.
I was very shocked when we traded away Hayden Penn. Would you be surprised that Robert Andino once lost his job to Julio Lugo? Rest his soul.
No. Oh, God, I forgot that Julio Lugo died. That's sad.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, very sad. Now I'm bummed out.
Me too.
Yeah, Robert Andino's first season in Baltimore, he had a 43 WRC plus. And then we were like, we're going to demote him. Julio Lugo played 2010, was solid. Then Robert Andino came back, played 139 games in 2011 and 127 in 2012. And then he moved on to Seattle. So he is also a 2/3 Gallardo.
2/3 Gallardo. I did not know that.
Yeah, he did find his way back to the Marlins eventually. Robert Andino.
Robert Andino. All right. And I am up now, and I hate to keep taking pitchers because I've already taken 4 of them, but there are just so many good pitcher names out there.
There really are.
And I can't not take this guy.
Is it who I think it is? I think I know who it is.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But certainly what I know is that my team could use a good gyro baller.
Oh,
I'm taking Dice K.
Oh, all right. That is not who I expected you to take.
Interesting. Well, you can take that person next.
Dice K was not on my board. I saw his name on there and I kind of deleted his name eventually. It's like, I don't need Dice K. But why don't you talk about Dice K?
I mean, maybe it's because I live near Boston. So I was caught up in Dice K mania as a kid. Dice K came over from Japan in 2007. Just with all of the hype in the world. Signed with the Red Sox. First career start, the first batter he faces is Ichiro. And every Japanese player, to any Japanese player such as Dice K, Ichiro is God. So that was just a cool moment. I don't remember what happened in the at-bat, but I remember watching it feverishly. And then his first 2 seasons with the Red Sox were really great. He wasn't like the gyro ball never really worked out. That was his like secret pitch. That kind of ended up being overhyped, but he was a really solid major league pitcher for a few years. And then he kind of tailed off. I remember he was making a rehab start with the Portland Sea Dogs in New Hampshire against the Fisher Cats. I saw it on the morning news and I was like, we have to go to this game. And we went to the game and he gave up 5 runs in the first inning. And he really just was kind of washed up at that point. I'm not sure what happened to him. He ended up with the Mets, who were originally the favorites to sign him back in 07. And I saw him at Coors Field, actually. And I'm pulling up the box score for that game right now because I don't remember. He either did really well or really poorly. And I don't remember which it was. 2 2/3 innings, allowed 2 hits, 1 run, a walk, 2 strikeouts. So he pitched neither really great or really poorly. He pitched fine. But either way, that was kind of the tail end of his career. That was his final season, 2014. In the majors, at least, he went back to Japan. He retired officially this past year. And, you know, he's just a legend. He's an interesting case, and I'm happy to have him on my team.
I like that. That's a solid pick. You actually might have motivated me to take somebody else with my next pick that I wasn't planning. So I like that.
Yeah.
Who's your next pick?
I am up again. The next name on my board is a pitcher. But I'm going to, I guess, again, go off board. I'm going to scroll a little bit further down my list because what I really want is some head. Hudson Head, that is.
Oh, interesting. You're taking a current prospect.
I'm taking a current prospect, Pittsburgh Pirates prospect, Hudson Head, former San Diego Padre. He is someone who is owned by EBO still. So I was thinking maybe it's a little bit of a weird pick, but, you know, he's still such an M-SABR legend. His name is Hudson Head. How can I not take him?
Hudson Head. What a great name. Well, speaking of M-SABR legends, there's a couple of M-SABR legends I feel like I'm going to take with these next 2 picks. I guess I really like the Red Sox rotation because with this next pick, I'm taking John Lackey.
No, is he? I searched for him. I didn't realize he was available. Oh no.
John Lackey.
I searched his name.
It sounds better when Greg does it, but I'm John Lackey.
No,
Yes, I finally got you. Let's go.
I would have taken him by now.
Yeah. Oh
man, great pick. I'm not sure where he was hiding.
I don't know either, but if anybody doesn't get a reference, just search up the I'm John Lackey YouTube video. It is great. Greg first introduced it to me in 2019, and I've been thinking about John Lackey differently ever since.
Man.
Go John Lackey.
Go John Lackey.
He kind of had an interesting career. You know, he's really good with the Angels, kind of came to Boston, sucked. Remember he had that weird clause in his contract where if he got Tommy John, he'd get like an additional year in his contract at the league minimum. And the Cardinals really took advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
He pitched really
You've
well.
got 2 Cy Young winners in your rotation now.
Did John Lackey win a Cy Young?
He did.
Oh, what year?
That's a good question. 2006, I want to say.
I think it might have been 2007. He had a 3.01 ERA. That was the best of his career.
Nope. John Lackey finished 3rd in Cy Young in 07. He did not win a Cy Young.
He was the AL ERA leader that year. He's only a 1-time All-Star. He's a 3-time World Series champ for him too. Good for him.
Wow, good for him.
John Lackey. Speaking of M-SABR legends, this doesn't quite rise to the level of who's the guy? Phil Koch. But I think this is also a worthwhile picture of taking too. Do you have any guesses of who it is?
I have no idea.
James Bezos.
James Bezos. Okay, not on my board.
Remember him? Remember the whole meme around him?
Yeah. Greg, he was traded
to the Phillies.
He was in the JP Crawford trade.
He was, and Greg was pissed about that. And then he ended up with the Rockies. Like the Phillies, like for some reason, were like, yeah, he's not worth being on our roster after a 2.88 ERA. And they trade him to the Rockies. And I remember that being a whole thing. And love this beautiful stat line. He had a 169 K per nine in 2020, an 844 walk per nine, and a 506 homer per nine.
No.
5 1/3 innings, 1688 ERA. James Bezos. I feel like James Bezos too was one of those like OOTP legends too. I feel like we talked about him a lot in the OOTP context.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we did. I have a couple other legends here still on the list, surprisingly, but yeah. Legends for different reasons though. And I'm really excited to see if you guess who any of these legends are, but you have the next 2 picks. So
I do have the next 2 picks, and there are a lot of places I can go with this.
It's getting harder and harder. I will say that.
It's tough. I have 5 starters, 3 outfielders, and 1 other person, which is why I'm going to go a little bit off board with my next pick. I am going to take a first baseman, and that is Lyle Overbay.
No, I literally just added him to my player queue. You bastard.
Yeah.
You bastard.
Yeah. He's great. Lyle Overbay. Why don't you talk a little bit about him?
I mean, I feel like when you and I first started like doing this, before we were officially like, we're going to do this, literally the last player we talked about was, oh, hey, Lyle Overbay is here. I remember Lyle Overbay when I was growing up when he was at the Blue Jays. So like, kind of like my first like remembering him as just kind of a pain in the Orioles ass. Little did I realize like he was like an above average hitter for a good chunk of his career, but it wasn't really anything too special. But I kind of remember him on those teams with like Vernon Wells and Alex Rios, who I always will associate together for the rest of eternity. Adam Lind, remember Adam Lind?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Another former Fisher Cat.
John McDonald was on those teams. Good times. Oh, yeah. But yeah. Lyle Overbay. He was my first top candidate to play first base. So I'm really disappointed he took him.
I've sniped you here. My next pick, I think I gotta go with another outfielder. Last go round I got head with my second pick. I think it's time to bring some Hose into the mix.
Oh,
LJ Hose.
That's a good one. He was also on my board.
Former Astros outfielder. His last name is Hose, Hoes, unlike Cody Hose, who is less fun. And he wore the number 0. So you would see shirts which would say Hose 0. And it's like a count of how many Hose you have.
A damn shame you didn't really have that many Hose.
Yeah, tragic, but yeah, no, just in a kind of in the Hudson Head, maybe Henry category of guys with funny names, and I think that's worthwhile on a team like this.
No, I think that's very smart. So you broke down your team. Interestingly, I have 3 outfielders, 3 starting pitchers, but I also have 2 or 3 second basemen and then a shortstop with my first 10 picks. But I just found a really good player, and I think that this one's too good to pass up. He just retired. Wait, is he not here anymore? No way.
Oh
no. Because he retired. I think they took him off the list. Once you officially retire, you're off the list.
Oh.
It was going to be Travis Snyder.
Oh, you got to make another pick then.
What?
You got to make another pick then.
Dude, oh my God. That's a disappointment. We should have done this draft literally like 24 hours earlier. I would have had Travis Snyder on my team. Oh, man. Ugh. This kind of throws my board for a little bit of a loop. There was a fun pick I was considering making a little later. I think I still might wait on it a bit. You know what? I need some starting pitchers. And there's a couple of Reds legends that I'm thinking about here.
Oh.
And I think you know which Reds legends they might be.
I hope so.
Which one do you want me to take first? The more recent Reds legend or the older Reds legend? Actually, I don't know when the last time they pitched for the Reds was.
That's a good question. I don't know which ones you're talking about. I think I have, if they're who I think they are, the more recent one is higher on my board. So if you want to snipe me, take him.
All right. Well, I was going to take both of them because I do need some starting pitchers. This player was traded for Eugenio Suarez.
Yes.
And
he was next on my board.
I believe he was arrested
what a snipe.
shooting a gun on New Year's.
Oh, I don't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was at the Orioles at that point. He is a fatal shooting. Yikes.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Accidental shooting. I was pissed when the Orioles let him go. Somehow I was pissed because he had a 4.90 ERA in 2011. And I was like, damn, like he could be our next like great like setup guy. He actually closed for us for a little bit. He was a reliever in the Reds bullpen. Really the long reliever for you all for a couple of years. And he moved into the rotation and somehow he had a 3.44 ERA in 2014. And you were somehow smart enough to convince the Tigers that like, hey, he at the age of 34 is worth one Eugenio Suarez.
Well, he's worth one decent borderline top 100 pitching prospect, Jonathan Crawford, and also your young shortstop.
Yeah. Suarez. Oh, man.
Man, Crawford did not pan out, but oh boy, Eugenio Suarez.
Eugenio Suarez.
Just say the name Alfredo Simon to Sully and see how he reacts.
Well, I'm going to do it right now. I'm just going to, in the baseball chat. And once he responds, we'll talk about it.
Big pasta.
Big pasta. Do I go with this guy with the next pick or do I go, ooh. You know what? I'm going to go with this guy. And this guy was a Gallardo Sully.
Oh, that's evil.
That was totally worth it. Thank you for that suggestion. But
suggestion.
Speaking of pain, I want to confirm this player was a Gallardo Award winner before I make a claim that he won a Gallardo Award. But boy, he was not fun to earn. You know what it was? I started writing the Gallardo Awards in 2019 and got busy at class, and I never ended up finishing it. But somewhere on my computer, I wrote up about him. Let's search up his ERA. Feel really bad. We later figured out he pitched with a torn meniscus that year.
No, I don't think I know who this is.
It was really hard to pitch with. He got cut by the Marlins in the 2019 spring training, coming off a year at the 4.12 ERA. And we're all surprised. We're like, this guy became a free agent? And the Orioles signed him. Hit a 9.82 ERA, a 9.34 FIP, a 10.81 xERA, and a negative 1.1 WAR. And if I believe correctly, he was once traded for, first off, do you know who it is before I give this last fact?
I actually don't.
He's been traded for names such as Addison Russell, Jeff Samardzija, or in trades involving Addison Russell, Jeff Samardzija, Jason Hamill, Luis Valbuena, rest in peace, Dexter Fowler, Eric Kratz, Luis Castillo, Austin White, White. That's right. It is Dan the Man Straley.
I am forever thankful for this guy.
Yeah.
He is someone we have very, very different emotions towards.
Yeah. He give him some credit. He did have a nice season with the Marlins when he first got traded there. But boy, Luis Castillo has been a lot better. The Phillies somehow traded for him after his 9.42 ERA. Yeah, he actually, so MLB Trade Rumors has been doing this really cool thing where they've been getting former and current players on to do like Q&As on their site, and he was one of them, and that's how I figured out he had the torn meniscus. But Dan Straley, I get nightmares thinking about the time he pitched in an Oriole uniform, and he's a 2/3 Gallardo. So I thought he was worth being on this list, and now gives me a top 4 of Rick Porcello, John Lackey, Alfredo Simone, and Dan Straley, where if you took him at the high points of their career, actually a pretty solid rotation.
Yeah, not a bad rotation.
Yeah. But those are my guys. Who are you picking here?
Okay, so we talked a little bit about how you're removed from the player list when you retire, which makes this next player very interesting because he is currently a major league manager and he led his team to the World Series in 2020. I'm taking Kevin.
He was
Cash.
on my board, you bastard. Oh no. You take Kevin Cash. Yeah, it's all right because I have a lot of other catcher candidates. I think that might be my deepest position on my board, but boy, I was hoping to catch you off guard with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, catcher's fairly deep, but I don't have anyone until actually I've only got one other catcher on my board. I guess I can say who it is. It's Ryan Hannigan.
Huh? I don't think I saw his name when I went through this.
Interesting. But yeah, Kevin Cash, manager of the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't know why he is still in the system if you're taking people out when they retire. There's no recent news on him. He has not played in the major leagues since 2010. He's 44 years old. And yeah, Kevin Cash, manager of the year and catcher for my team.
I like that. All right. Who's your next pick?
Oh, I get a second one, don't I? Yeah, so with this one, I've already taken Kyler Murray. So a lot of his backstory is the same as it is for this person, but I still think it's funny that he's in the draft. I'm taking Russell Wilson.
Ooh, that's a good one. He was also on my board.
You are now up. You can also mute that. There's a mute button right next to the clock if you don't want the air horn to be in the podcast.
Every time I mute it, for some reason it comes back on. It's really
that's super weird.
But yeah, I'll keep track of it. There's a couple candidates I could go with this next pick, but let's see here. There's a podcast legend.
Oh.
And there is just an M-SABR Dynasty League legend. Which one would you prefer first?
Let's go with the Dynasty League legend first.
All right. This player has hung around for quite a bit in the league. He was initially drafted in the 22nd round, and a round where Ryan McMahon, Corbin Burns,
who this is.
Or no, sorry. Corbin Burns and Juan Soto went the round after. But Ryan McMahon won in that round, as a Patrick Corbin. Remember when he was good? Oh boy, what can I say about him? When you think about this player, you instantly think about Danny Espinosa.
Oh, not who I thought you were going to take.
Oh, interesting. Okay. But
he's a Dynasty League legend, this guy?
This is a Dynasty League legend, and I'll tell you why he's a Dynasty League legend. You and I have traded around Ian Desmond quite a bit.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, with the non-prospect and active slot.
Yeah, he's a player to be named later to Danger Mooster, Ian Desmond on August 20th. You and I have discussed a lot of like, hey, we're going to trade Ian Desmond to each other. Like, hey, I'm going to trade it back to you.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Ian Desmond.
Good pick.
Great pick. Now, the next one is a podcast legend. Let's see if you remember this one. If you recall, and let me double check the year, but this player never made the majors. This player was drafted 5th overall by the Orioles in the 2009 draft.
Oh, yeah.
And we were all like, why the hell was he drafted there? You want to know who the pick after him was? It was Zach Wheeler. You know who the pick after that was? Mike Minor, also made the majors. Pick after that? Well, I'm not going to say because you might draft him. But
Yeah. I didn't put that guy on my board because he's still active.
Interesting.
Although that didn't stop me from taking Hudson Head, but
Side note, did you know that Aaron Crow made an all-star game?
really?
In 2011, his rookie year, he was an all-star. What the fuck? There is no way that's right. Wikipedia's lying to me. Wikipedia never lies for all of those who are listening. He had a 276 ERA that year. Oh, good for him. It was actually really good for a while. He must have gotten hurt. I don't know what happened. But I'm taking, you guessed it, Matt Hopgood. I would encourage you all to go back to our mock 2009 draft to listen to me rip a new one on to Matt Hopgood.
Matt Hobb bad, more like.
Yes. Thank you for that corny joke. Yeah. Matt Hobb bad. Oh man, no, he was no bueno. No bueno. And that is all I have to say about him, because if I have to say any more about him, I'm just going to go on a long tirade and we're not going to get anything done.
Yeah, there are certainly a lot of good players left. I could take another Pirates prospect, but I think he'll be around a few rounds from now.
Oh,
I guess I'll take another pitcher. He's a guy who's high on my board. I haven't felt really the desire to take him, but I feel like the value is just too good right now. It's big time Timmy Jim. Tim Lincecum.
Okay, so you're actually going with like some like favorites from yesteryear. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of favorites.
Explain why
from
you took him.
Yeah, so well, first of all, he's you've got a couple Cy Young Award winners. I figured I'd take one of my own. Tim Lincecum, former best pitcher in baseball at the end of the 2000s. Kind of burned brightly and flamed out. But yeah, and he flamed out hard, but during his decline phase, he threw 2 no-hitters, so that's super weird. And then he's been out of the league since 2016, 2017. He signed with the Angels for 2017, I believe. In an article for M-SABR, I picked him as comeback player of the year. Angels Tim Lincecum. That did not come true. He was not good. And I think, yeah, I mean, favorites from yesteryear, I think, are a great group of players for this list, and I'm happy to have them.
Oh, that's interesting. You might change the way I approach this draft a little bit with that pick.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go a little bit off board now.
Oh.
Because if there's one player, I'm going to take a 7th starter, because if there's one player who Tim Lincecum, well, let me ask you this question. Think of Tim Lincecum. Who is the player who you most associate with Tim Lincecum?
Matt Cain, easily.
Yep, exactly. And I am drafting Matt Cain.
Considering taking, you bastard. I was literally going to be my next pick. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't going to take Matt Cain before he said Tim Lincecum, but as soon as he said Tim Lincecum, I was like, Matt Cain. I have both of those on my list that I like deleted eventually, but I was like, I'm going to take it because I want to have that comparison. And you bastard, you took him.
Yeah. I thought it'd be a great comparison. I couldn't pass up. He was actually down at 39 on my board, but I figured I can't pass up this, taking them both at the turn. His name is Kane. That's cool. My name is Kane. Yeah.
My name is Kane. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh man. So Matt Cain, fun fact, the very first pitcher I ever drafted in a fantasy baseball league was Matt Cain.
Interesting.
Yeah. AJ Burnett was my second starting pitcher. And to give you some context of when that was, Clayton Kershaw was dropped after the first week in that league.
Oh no. Is this like 08?
Yeah, it was like 08, 09. I was in middle school in a league with a bunch of older people. It's good times. A CBS points legue.
CBS points league.
CBS points league.
Man, I did an ESPN points league one time. I know I had Homer Bailey. I streamed him when he threw his no hitter, so that was always. I think it was his second no hitter, maybe it was his first one in a CBS point in an ESPN points league. So that was a lot of fun. Points leagues are weird, huh?
They're so weird. I don't like playing in them at all.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You are up now.
Well, since you mentioned him,
Oh,
this feels like a good place to take Homer Bailey, right?
I guess so. He was on my board. Yeah.
Or maybe not. How many red starters have I taken? I guess just Simone. And then, wow, has that honestly been the only one? Oh, and then Dane Straley. Homer Bailey was kind of an M-SABR meme for like a bit.
He was. I mean, Homer Bailey, the name that I guess the more time that passes between his terrible injured last 4 years with the Reds and the present, the more you kind of look back on him fondly, because he was good for a few years and he threw the 2 no-hitters. But my God, was he a liability?
No, he really was. It's a damn shame. But yeah, he was really a liability. Yikes. All right, so I think this next one will be a little more fun. This guy was supposed to, I need a third baseman. And this guy was supposed to be really good and then just really flamed out. You want to guess who it is?
There's a third baseman near the top of my board. So I'm not going to guess who it is.
Brandon Wood?
No. Oh, yeah.
Remember okay, Brandon Wood?
Good pick.
Remember, yeah, you
remember
guys talked about him like right before we were like, oh, we can't talk about these guys anymore.
Yeah, he was somewhere on my board.
Yeah. Man, everybody thought he was going to be the next big thing. And then his Fangraphs page is so sad. -2 WRC plus, 40 WRC plus, 49 WRC plus, and a 1 WRC plus.
Ooh.
Yeah, but he had a 68 WRC plus in 2020 or 2011, and then nobody gave him a chance. Interestingly, for some reason, he is on the top. Is this right? No, for some reason, one of the articles linked to him is the top 30 starting pitcher rankings for 2020. And I'd like to think that Brandon Wood converted into a starting pitcher and decided to pitch and made his way back into a top 30 pitcher. That would have been fun. But yeah, Homer Bailey, literally only since you mentioned him and Brandon Wood.
Okay. Homer Bailey and Brandon Wood. I am up now. I mentioned the third baseman. So I guess I'll take him now. He's not an amazing name or anything, but he's kind of one of the peak. Hey, remember this guy? So I'm taking Reed Brignac. Hey, remember Reed Brignac?
He was on my board. Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, Reed Brignac.
That's a good one. I like it.
No follow-ups. And I guess I'll take another infielder. I think I'm going to take the guy who's most likely to be high on your board. He's a guy... former Oriole legend. He had his own. He had a lot of fans. I am taking JJ Hardy.
Oh, I wasn't planning on taking him. Although I love every game where they're like J Hardy. It was great, but he wasn't quite meme enough to make this list. But boy, I really loved him. He was one of the guys I had down.
Yeah, so he is more in my mind than in yours because at Camden Yards, at least back in 2011 when I went, they would have people would hang a banner for like the fan club of a certain player every game. Yeah. And the game I went to, they hung Hardy's Heroes.
Yep, no, that's mine was up there quite a bit.
Hardy's Heroes is I don't remember. Mattis's Maniacs was the other one that I saw.
Remember when we had hope in Brian Mattis? He had that 1 year where he had like a 4 ERA as a starter. We're like, great, he'll do it. And then he struggled a bit in 2012. They moved him to the bullpen and just never gave him a chance in a rotation again.
I do remember that, man. Brian
so
Mattis.
Sad. Oh,
But
man.
anyway, 11 years later, when I think of JD Hardy, I think Hardy's Heroes, and that's what I call him in my head. And yeah, that's my pick.
Man. All right, you're kind of forcing me to do this almost, but while we're on the topic of Orioles, there was once a reliever. My very first year of rooting for the Orioles was 2008, and this was the year like when they made the Miguel Tejada and Eric Bedard trade. So Miguel Tejada had been traded for 5 players who I started watching at that point. And one of those 5 players, for whatever reason, I thought was like the best reliever on the Orioles. I thought he was like really good. I thought that like he could pitch every day. I was like, if they went back to like the old days, like he would be a guy who would like just kind of be like I don't know, he coming for relief for the guys after they pitched 9 innings and they go to extras or something. He made 3 starts that year, and I was like, whoa, it's kind of impressive. Like he was even able to start too. Like he's a legend. He had a 478 K per 9, a 404 walk per 9. Remember when like a 478 K per 9 was actually like an acceptable like number?
It was never good, but it was a number that wasn't like, it's not what you think of it now.
Right. And it's crazy because like that wasn't too long ago and that was kind of an acceptable number.
Mm-hmm.
But he pitched 14 years in the majors, but I don't think he was ever a more than a 1/3 Gallardo. It is Fat Matt Albers.
Matt Albers. Okay.
Remember Matt Albers?
I do.
Yeah, I really thought he should be. I really thought of him as an Oriole legend. I have fond memories of Matt Albers growing up, watching him pitch out the bullpen. I can picture his delivery in my head. Matt Albers, good times. You ready for my next pick?
I am.
Well, you took my first option at first base, so I have to go with my second option at first base. This player kind of gives me John Wood's vibe, or not John Wood, Brandon Wood vibes. And I think you'll appreciate this. He was traded for one of, let me double check that he was. No, he wasn't traded for this guy, but he was traded along with Domingo Santana and Jared Cosart. Remember Jared Cosart?
Oh, I
And
do remember Jared Cosart, and I'm
Gossi?
pretty sure I remember who this player is.
Yeah, he's trading a deal for Hunter Pence. Fun
Yeah.
fact, he just signed a minor league contract with the Brewers last month.
Huh.
He has
Really?
not played in the majors since. See, he's only 30 now, which is kind of hard to believe. He hasn't played in the majors since 2015.
Really? He's 30.
He's only
How is
30.
that possible?
That is right. It is John Singleton.
John Singleton.
So now I have a starting infield of John Singleton, Gordon Beckham, Brandon Wood, Omar Quintanilla, with Robert Andino in my middle infield slot and Scooter Jeanette in my utility slot. And in a pinch, Ian Desmond can play in the infield still.
Man. Yeah, I was really hoping I could get Scooter Jeanette. But, sometimes it goes that way. I am up now, and I'm looking through my board. And there aren't a lot, and I'm kind of running out of names that are jumping out to me. But there are still some good names out there, and I'm going to take a player who personally means a lot to me, because he's from New Hampshire, and I think that's cool. And for a while, there was like a year or so where a lot of people thought he was really cool. He's making some good catches all the time, and he'll always have a special place in my heart. It's Sam Fuld.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. I didn't know he's from New Hampshire. That's cool.
He is. Yeah, he hasn't played since 2015, I don't believe, as if Fantrax is to be believed. The most recent news on Sam Fuld is that on April 29th, 2016, he was transferred to the 60-day DL. Poor guy. He tore his rotator cuff. The procedure has been set for May 18th, 2016. What were you doing on May 18th, 2016?
Gosh, I don't know. I was probably at home doing nothing. I was home from my freshman year of college, and I did like nothing that month.
Yeah. So it would be my senior year of high school. AP exams would have been done, but I still had about 2 more weeks before graduation. So I was probably just kind of playing cards in class and chilling.
What a nice life.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It was a fun time. And that was the last time there has been any news on Sam Fold.
wasn't Sam Fold? He did something recently. I feel like wasn't he like a manager or something?
I wouldn't know.
Or like he's done something recently. You know what? I think he was like competing for a job or something. He's the current general manager of the Phillies.
Really?
Yeah. Oh my
Hey.
God, I forgot about this.
But I guess he hasn't officially retired, so he's still eligible.
So you now have a general manager and you have a manager on your team. You have Sam Fold and Kevin Cash, and they both played for the Rays.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I've got a GM and a manager, and a Cy Young winner, but I think I'm going to take a second Cy Young winner with my next pick. I've already got 7 starters, but there's always room for R.A. Dickey.
Oh, side note, Sam Fold is also Jewish. He's in the Jewish Baseball Museum.
Oh yeah, I think I knew that.
There's also a JewishBaseballNews.com, and he's on there.
Very cool.
Actually, I think he's only half Jew according to this article.
Hey.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, he's a half Jew from New Hampshire, just like
on a website called onbeingboth.wordpress.com.
a real reliable source there.
Yes.
But yeah, in case you missed it, I took R.A. Dickey, 2012 Cy Young winner. He was your ace in Strato, another Strato player.
Yeah.
He's a knuckleballer. Knuckleballers are cool. I think he'd be a great addition to my rotation.
He would be a good addition to your rotation. Yeah. I'm happy for him. I'm glad you took him here.
Yeah, he has not pitched since he made it all the way to 2017. Good for him. He won the Cy Young. He was immediately traded for Noah Syndergaard, which did not work out well for the Blue Jays. Worked very well for the Mets.
Worked very well for the Mets indeed. Oh man.
Yeah, the most recent news on him, free agent starting pitcher R.A. Dickey still has not made a decision on his future. This is February 7th, 2018. According to Ken Rosenthal, The Athletic, Rosenthal's sources, that's hard to say, said that this may be about more than baseball, though, as Dickey wants to pitch and he has offers to pitch. Even though he could pitch in 2018, he is married with 4 children and his oldest child recently turned 16. Dickey, 43, made 31. Oh, so he had his first kid young. Made 31 starts for the Braves last year, posting a 4.26 ERA and 190 innings. So I guess he never declined. He was still kind of pitching well-ish. He just kind of, he called it quits. Good for him.
Good for him indeed. Oh man, I up. Looks like I'm up.
You're up.
There's an M-SABR meme I could go with here.
I think that's who you got to go with.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised we forgot him, but I want to make sure. I need to figure out who my second guy is here because there's a couple good options. Oh man, I don't really know. You know what? I have my 2 guys. You're gonna like one of these guys. This player was a former Red and a former Mariner, or maybe maybe current Mariner. He's a 2-3 Gallardo. I know that. Gallardo. He's a 2-3 Gallardo. We made a Photoshop with him.
Oh yes, I think that's a great pick.
And I once owned him in the Dynasty League. I drafted him with my 50th round pick or 40th round pick. Because back then we only had 40. Shed Long Jr.
Shed.
He's outfield eligible here, which is weird. I thought you only played second base.
I'm not sure. I haven't really followed him a ton since he left the Reds.
Yeah. What do you think of this pick, though? M-SABR legend, right?
Yeah, traded for Sonny Gray. I photoshopped his head onto a shed.
Still have that picture somewhere?
Probably. So the backstory behind this, his name is Shed Long. He was a Reds prospect at the time. Back in 2017, if you searched on Google Images for Shed Long, All of the pictures were of long sheds and one picture of his headshot with the Dayton Dragons. And it was the funniest thing. And so what I did, I took that headshot with the Dayton Dragons and I put it on top of one of the long sheds and I said, hey, it's shed long. And yeah, that's the story.
Yeah, God bless Shed Long. He was a mean 50th or 40th round pick, but nonetheless, one I remember very fondly.
Great pick. Who are you taking next?
Oh man, there's a couple guys I'm considering here, and trying to think if you're going to take one of these guys before. You know what? You kind of went with the guy because you have fond memories of him, and I'm going to go with the guy because I have one particular fond memory about him. I'm taking Joakim Soria.
Okay.
You want to guess what the fond memory I have about him is?
I have no clue.
One of the most, maybe the best thing that happened in Orioles history while I've been a fan was when Delman Young hit the go-ahead 3-run double in 2014 in the ALDS. It was the only playoff series that the Orioles have won since I've become a fan. And I had to get Joakim Soria because he was the one who gave it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joakim Soria.
Yeah. I wanted to rub this in a little bit to the Tigers fans who were listening to this podcast.
Man, imagine being a fan of a team that's won a playoff series in your lifetime. Couldn't be me.
Yeah, it's really weird to think for you. For me, I guess I have the one, so I have superiority over you, but very little superiority. Remember when Roy Halladay, again, rest his soul.
No, you're not going to finish that sentence. I won't allow it.
You sure? Are you prepared to stop recording podcasts forever over that?
Not forever. But...
Not forever. Are we just not going to do it when Roy Halladay pitched a no-hitter against the Cincinnati Reds in the first game of the NLDS in 2010?
In the first Reds playoff game of my lifetime.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Yep, that's the thing that happened.
Yeah, it did happen.
Man. Anyway, let's move on. No need to dwell on the past here. And it's looks like I'm up. And I'm going to take a guy who's got a funny name. He was a guy he was never fantasy relevant, but I think he might have won a Gold Glove back in about 10 years ago. My brother actually bought his jersey when we went to Wrigley Field in 2014. He's my third second baseman, but I don't really care. It's Darwin Barney.
Oh, he was on my board too, but I've already taken 3 second basemen too, so I couldn't take him. That's a great pick. I remember when he won that Gold Glove. It was like the most random Gold Glove ever. Like Darwin Barney won a Gold Glove.
Yeah, he was a great fielder, I think.
He was. Well, obviously, because he won the Gold Glove.
Yeah. That's not necessarily. You don't necessarily have to be a good fielder to win the Gold Glove.
Yeah.
You're supposed to, but.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
Man. Darwin Barney.
Yeah. And up next, I guess I can take. I'll take, I guess, the closest thing to an M-SABR legend who is still at the top of my board. He's certainly a legend of sorts. I'm sure Greg has fond memories of this guy. Dustin Ackley.
Ah, fuck, he was on my board. I was considering him not only because of the Mariner kind of meme thing, but also he went to UNC.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and we in our mock 2009 draft had Dustin Ackley go second to, I believe, Anthony, because he was a great prospect. He was the number 2 pick in the Major League Draft that year. People thought he was going to be a great hitter, and he never was.
Unfortunately, Jeff Clement is not a player eligible to be drafted. Otherwise, I feel like one of us would have drafted him already. But when I think of Dustin Ackley, I think of him.
Yeah, and there's a great quick blurb on Dustin Ackley, which was written by Meg Rowley. I'm trying to find it. She is an aficionado of Dustin Ackley as a sad Mariners fan. It's very, very brutal and devastating. Here we go. Let's see if this is it. Yeah, so this was a list in Baseball Prospectus of the top 50 busted prospects. Dustin Ackley was 38th on the list. She wrote the blurb. What went wrong? Grappling with Ackley meant remembering at intervals the regularity of which spoke how... Wait, I'm reading this very wrong. Grappling with Ackley meant remembering at intervals the regularity of which spoke to how broken you were, that the Mariners could have drafted Mike Trout. So grappling with Ackley meant remembering that the Mariners could have drafted Mike Trout. But the Dustin Ackley rock bottom came years later after seasons spent watching one of the best college hitters of all time roll over weak grounders to second, when you began to fixate not on whether it was a mistake to pass on Trout, but whether the Mariners would have broken him too. Just devastating. Would the Mariners have broken Mike Trout?
They probably would have.
They probably would have. Devastating. By the way, on this list, the number one busted prospect that they wrote about, Drew Henson, former Michigan quarterback.
No.
Number 2, this was written in 2017, Jesus Montero, Delman Young, Brian Taylor, Ruben Rivera, Fernando Martinez, Brandon Wood, number 8, Lars Anderson, remember him?
I do.
And Joel Guzman, I don't remember him.
I don't remember. I didn't know that Lars Anderson was such like a highly ranked prospect. I just kind of remember Lars Anderson as not being very good. But you kind of stole my thunder because I did find this list as you were talking about it. And with my next pick, I didn't realize he was available. Otherwise, I would have taken him with the last pick. But LOL Tigers fans, Delman Young.
Delman Young.
I didn't realize he was available. But nothing like rubbing the one good moment that the Orioles have had in like 14 years of my fandom than taking Delman Young. So Delman Young is an Orioles legend. He must be protected at all costs. Delman Young.
Delman Young.
But I'm also taking another Orioles legend, and this guy, he was the deputy. We all loved him. He just embodied everything that Buck Showalter liked. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, if Buck Showalter had a son that wasn't his own son's, actually, I don't know if Buck Showalter's kids, but it would be this player. Do you want to guess who this player is before I reveal it?
Nolan Reimold?
No, it was one of the Orioles' first Rule 5 picks in the Dan Duquette area. It is the deputy, Ron Flaherty. Ryan Flaherty from Maine. Infielder. And eligible at third base, so he fits nicely in my corner infield spot.
Hey, all right.
And with that, all I need is a catcher and 7 reserve spots. So,
all right. I just need an extra corner infielder and some reserve spots and a pitcher. I'll take my last pitcher now. You've taken a lot of good Orioles moments and a couple of good Reds moments in Alfredo Simon and Scooter Gennett. I'm going to take a bad Red story. I am taking Rookie Davis. He was one of the pieces in the Aroldis Chapman trade. It was Rookie Davis, Eric Jagielo, Tony Renda, and let's look it up here.
Are you sure you want to look it up?
I do. Eric Jagielo was a pretty good player in one OTB save of mine. I don't believe he ever made the majors. He did not. Oh, and of course, Cotham City, Caleb Cotham, who became the Reds' pitching coach, or assistant pitching coach at least. He's terrible pitcher, good coach. But yeah. And then, but Rookie Davis is the one we're talking about here. William Theron Davis, nicknamed Rookie, debuted as a rookie with the Reds in 2017 and posted an ERA of 8.63. He walked 5.3 batters per nine, gave up. This was back. 2017 was a bad year for the Reds, where every single pitcher they put in would give up a million home runs. 2016, 2017 especially were just the darkest ages for Reds pitchers. And this was a guy, he was kind of easy to make fun of because of his name. He never, let's see if I don't believe he ever exceeded rookie eligibility. So that's kind of fun. He pitched 24 innings with the Reds in 2017, did not pitch in the majors in 2018, then pitched 10 2/3 innings with the Pirates in 2019, was not good. He was even worse in terms of FIP, a little better in terms of ERA. And just one of the names I think of when I think of really think of the pitching prospects the Reds acquired around that time that just sucked.
That's a great pick.
Yeah.
You got one more?
Oh, I do have one more, don't I?
You do.
Let's see here. I need a corner infielder. Here's a guy. I took Lyle Overbay. Here's a guy who kind of reminds me of Lyle Overbay. I'm taking a guy who I think it looks like he has minor league eligibility. Maybe I'll snipe him from you. Casey Kochman.
Oh, Casey Kochman was on my list, but like kind of low. I don't think I was going to take him, but I like that pick. Casey Kochman. Do you remember when Casey Kochman was basically traded 1-for-1 for Mark Teixeira?
Yeah.
That was like one of the weirdest trades I've ever seen, but they were like, oh, we get an extra year of Casey Kochman.
Casey Kochman has not played in the majors since 2013.
Oh, man, Casey Kochman. Mariner legend. Remember, he's traded for Bill Hall. My favorite was his like 6-day stint with the Red Sox. Adam LaRoche had a 6-day stint with the Red Sox. And they traded him for Casey Kochman because they thought Casey Kochman would be a better bench bat than Adam LaRoche. Just like they didn't think he would like be used to being coming off the bench because they had Kevin Youkilis and Mike Lowell back then.
Yeah, my Casey Kochman story is we were playing with the 2012 Strato. Casey Kochman was with Cleveland. And you were like, oh, I didn't know Casey Kochman was with Cleveland. And I was surprised because I primarily associated Casey Kochman with Cleveland. That is the team I associate Casey Kochman with. And we looked it up. Casey Kochman spent 1 year with Cleveland. He played more games with 3 other teams than he did with Cleveland. But for whatever reason in mind, I think of him as a Clevelander. And I don't know why that is.
I don't know who I associate him with primarily. I'd say it's probably the Braves or the Mariners. I do remember him as
well, he played with the Mariners less than he played with Cleveland.
Oh, you know what? The Angels, I think I probably, because I remember him there first.
They were his primary team.
Yeah. He was a weird one. I didn't realize he went like pretty much like 1 year after another with a different team after he left Atlanta. I thought he might have spent 2 years with somebody. Damn.
Yeah. Casey
Kochman. That's
Kochman.
Did you know that Casey Kochman holds a major league record for consecutive errorless games at first base?
I do not know that.
274 games.
Wow, 274 games. Good for Casey.
Yeah, good for Casey indeed. Well, with my 2 picks here, I can't help but diving back into the Oriole. Well, I've been doing my best and not just being lazy and just picking a bunch of random Orioles. And I think like picking like John Singleton, Brandon Wood, Flirvin, Mr. Jew, Travis Jankowski, among others. But this, so catcher is the only starting position I still need to draft the player. Taylor Teagarden is my pick here, and I'll tell you why. Taylor Teagarden, the Orioles traded for him to be the backup catcher for Matt Wieters. And I actually posted on Facebook about 10 years ago saying Taylor Teagarden to the Orioles, print your World Series ticket, or something along those lines. And he missed the first part of the season with injuries, and Ronnie Paulino came up, and he was the backup. And if you remember anything about Ronnie Paulino,
I do not.
Paulino was the DH for the Orioles, I think, in like his first like start for the team. Let's see if I could pull this up. Yeah. In a game against the Twins, he won 4 for 4 in that game. As the DH, because for some reason, I don't know, I guess the Orioles thought he would be useful as a DH bat in 8th. In a lineup that also featured Robert Andino, so good for Andino. And your pick, JJ Hardy. But he just had Teagarden had so many clutch hits throughout the year. He just randomly, like in the 12th inning, just like hit a pinch hit home run. There's like a couple times that he did that, and he kind of became a legend for the Orioles that year for just like his heroics. And for that reason, I have very fond memories of Taylor Teagarden's 1 year or 2 years with the Orioles. I forgot he was there in 2013 as well. Taylor Teagarden. Also, I swear, like the Rangers had like a glut of catchers for a while. That was like Matt Trainer and like Max Ramirez and Jared Saltalamacchia, and like along with Taylor Teagarden, I kind of like all clump them together. I basically think they're all the same player. So
all right, you were up again.
Oh, I am up again. Oh man. I did not think this far. There's some really good picks I could take. God damn. Oh, you know who I wonder if he's available?
Who is that?
Oh, let me double check one thing. You're gonna hate this if he is available. Oh yes.
Oh,
this is an M-SABR Dynasty legend, and I only have 3 releases.
Oh.
I could have one.
Oh no. Oh, he's on my list.
You think you know who it is?
I think I know who it is.
Let's go back to the 7th trade ever made in the league. This is back in my first stint as Giovanni is a Wonderland. This is one of my better trades. Giovanni is a Wonderland has agreed to trade Blake Parker to Albert Pujols for first baseman / outfielder Yordan Alvarez. That is right, everybody. I am taking Blake Parker. Remember we all thought Blake Parker was like actually like a relevant closer? There was like a couple times. I'm pretty sure he's traded a couple times. I think
he was. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so not only did I trade him on May 23rd, but I got him again later in the 3-team deal on June 8th. So that's like 2 weeks-ish later. And then exactly a month after that, I traded Blake Parker again for Ken Giles and Adonis Medina.
Interesting.
EBO. And then EBO traded Blake Parker to you. And I had a deal that was Brendan Rodgers, Marco Gonzalez, Blake Parker, Nathan Eovaldi, Danny Jensen, and EBO's first and second round picks that year to you for Connor's first round pick, John Lester, Ben Zobrist, and Chris Davinsky.
Wow,
And
none of those people are relevant now.
Basically never heard of ever again. Well, Nathan Eovaldi's relevant.
Eovaldi, yeah, that's true.
Eovaldi's actually pretty good.
Yeah, he had a very good season, yeah.
Marco Gonzalez is still kicking it. Brendan Rodgers.
Brendan Rodgers, that kind of meant more the return with Lester and Davinsky and whatnot.
That's fair. EBO's 2 picks that year. So EBO eventually was dealt that pick away and then EBO eventually got their pick back into Kyler Murray. And with the first pick, the first round pick that they traded away, Marco Luciano was drafted. So, but with Connor's first round pick, Connor took Nick Madrigal after EVO traded that pick to them, and they took the second pick where they took Casey Mize. Fond memories of Blake Parker, although joke's on me because I ended up trading Yordan Alvarez for Greinke, but Greinke did help me win a championship, so I feel a bit better about that than you do. But I never fail to remember a good chance to bring up the fact that you traded me Blake Parker for Yordan Alvarez. And for the longest time until we got the trade history, you thought that there was more to that trade. And I insisted, no, it was just Blake Parker for Yordan Alvarez. And I was right.
You were right. But I'm up next. And I'm going to pick a guy who I've kind of been debating taking for a while. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off and take him now. But first, do you, when you were making your list, were you aware that you could, instead of clicking add player to list, you could click exclude player from list?
Oh, no.
To make a no list. No, do not take this player.
Oh, no, I did not.
Yeah, so you can do that. And I put exactly one player on my exclude list. I put Matt Latos is the only player I put on my exclude list because fuck Matt Latos. And I'm not taking him here. But when I think of Matt Latos, I think of his cat. Well, first of all, his cat Latos.
Latos. Oh, no.
I think of how he was always starting drama. His wife, now former wife, Dallas Latos, was starting drama on Twitter. And with those early 2010s Reds teams, he was a very good pitcher also. And alongside him in that rotation, it was a great rotation. There's Johnny Cueto. There's also Bronson Arroyo, who I'm not taking because he's not available.
Oh, yes!
But
yes!
When you think of Bronson Arroyo, who is the first player you think of?
Obviously Aaron Harang. There's no
Aaron Harang. That is
Harang.
correct. Aaron Harang is my next
Aaron
pick.
Harang on my board. Yes. Oh my God, that makes me so excited that you remembered Aaron Harang. I was getting worried that Aaron Harang was not going to get picked. He was on my board, but I was like, Cam's going to pick him at some point.
Yeah. Aaron Harang, he pitched for the Reds for a little while. He was solid. He ended up going to, I believe, the Nationals, the Padres briefly. No, I guess he never was with the Nationals. That's surprising to me. Yeah, he went. He just bounced around a little bit towards the end of his career. But yeah, Aaron Harang was alongside. God, he's a weird looking guy, huh?
He really is. He kind of got like oval head with like really big eyes and just kind of a lot of red hair.
A lot of something. But yeah, I have a second pick. And I'm taking a guy who I'd be surprised if you remembered him, but I've kind of got some fond memories of him. When we think of the early 2010s Royals, there are a few names that we always go to, but this is a name that we don't always say. Probably because his name is very difficult to say. It's Kila Kayahua.
Oh, he was on my list. I remember for the longest time, it was like Billy Butler and him were like the first base DH there. And then Kalahue just kind of like flamed out. Eric Hosmer kind of took his place. And I was like, damn, whatever happened to Kalahue?
So I had on the Xbox 360, I had MLB 2K11, I want to say. And I had a dynasty mode, career mode with the Royals, and I would just hit dingers all the time. And first of all, the game did not know how to pronounce any player's name. It pronounced so when it would announce him over like the PA speaker, it would say Kila Kahayui, and I will never forget that because first of all, that's not how he pronounces his name, and I looked it up beforehand. He does not pronounce it Kahayui, but also the PA announcer went very high pitched when he said it. He would say Kahayui, and I always thought that was funny. And also, I hit like 80 home runs with him in a season. My ace was, hold on, let me search this guy. Okay, he's not on the list. Justin Ducherer.
Oh, he was with the Orioles for a hot second, but he
Yeah.
never played because he was hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, another guy who I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but he was my ace. I pitched I had a no-hitter going into the 8th with him once. And yeah, that's just kind of a fun franchise mode. And yeah, Keela, correct pronunciation appears to be Kayahua.
Man, you couldn't have picked a better segue to my next pick.
Is it Mitch Meyer?
No, it's not, but damn, that'd be a good pick. Is he even available?
He is. He's on my board.
Oh, fuck. Maybe I should take Mitch Meyer just to spite you. That's a great one. I have fond memories of Mitch Meyer in that outfield kind of when like Lorenzo Cain was coming up. I don't know if David DeJesus and Mitch Meyer ever shared an outfield, but I picture like David DeJesus as like right before the generation with like Lorenzo Cain and Alex Gordon came up. Mitch Meyer was there. I feel like Jeff Francoeur might have been there platooning with him at one point. Mitch Meyer, that's a great one. But this one was also a 2010 Royal. And this was also somebody who I hit very particularly well with, and it was either MLB 2K or MLB The Show. He was with the Orioles in 2012. He had signed a 2-year major league deal with an option for a 3rd year after splitting the year with the Royals and the Tigers. In 2010 with the Royals, he had a 141 WRC plus, 378 OBP.
Yes.
You want to guess who it is?
This is
But also nobody could pronounce his name either. It only came out like a little later what his name actually was.
I know exactly who it is, and I can't think of it. Who is it?
But plot twist.
Oh?
He has a son now.
Oh.
And his son is the one who is eligible to be drafted.
Oh.
It is Wilson Betemit Jr.
Yes, Wilson Betemit. I also hit insanely well, maybe even better than I hit with Keela.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever his batting stance was, he just had it. It was a good contact hitter there for I guess like a couple of years. It was really weird because he wasn't like all that good up until he got to like Kansas City, I guess. Like I don't know how it worked out, but he was the Orioles' 3rd baseman before Manny Machado came up, and Manny Machado came up, took his job. The next year, he tore something. He was carried out on the stretcher because of a ligament injury. He came back, played a couple games, got DFA'd after a negative 100 WRC plus, thanks to no hits and no walks and 10 plate appearances. And that was the last we ever really heard of him.
That was the last we heard of him.
Fun fact about Wilson Betemit. Wilson Betemit is one of, let's see if I can count properly. 15 players have debuted at 19 or younger since 1990. And Wilson Betemit is one of them.
Really? I did not know he debuted at 19 or younger.
He did. He debuted in 2001 at the age of 19 and then did not make it back to the majors until 2004. He had 5 plate appearances in 2001.
Interesting. Well, all right.
That is Wilson Betemit Jr.
All right. And you're up again.
Oh, it says the league configuration has changed.
Yes, there were only 28 rounds, so I added 2 more rounds.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Because we need to fill out a 30-man roster.
Well, this is kind of another M-SABR legend I was thinking about picking. But this one is a little bit of a more of a recent M-SABR legend. We liken him to Marmalade.
Oh.
It is Jose Marmolejos.
Okay, an active player.
Yeah, he is active. I was thinking about taking him earlier, and then he made a comment about taking active players. I was like, shit, maybe I should wait. But the amount of times they called him Marmalade in the chat this past year, it made me really happy every time we mentioned Jose Marmolejos. He had to be the pick here. Jose Marmolejos. He of the 64 WRC plus this year for the Mariners. He
Great.
hit 26 homers in 83 games in the minors this year. Couldn't quite keep that up.
No, couldn't quite. All right, I am up now, and I'm going to take you back to 2008.
Oh, yes.
I was sitting in my living room. Me and my dad were looking at scores for other games, and we saw the pitching matchup. We saw Cleveland and Minnesota were going to play a game, and we don't really know much about either team, but we looked and we see the pitching matchup for the game. It's between two pitchers we'd never heard of, but the matchup we see Laffy Slowey. Laffy versus Slowey. What a pitching matchup. And I wish I could take them both. Sadly, Aaron Laffy is not available to be drafted, but Kevin Slowey is. Welcome to the Canada Cans.
Oh my God. If I knew he was available, I would have taken him. Fuck. I love Kevin. Kevin Slowey. I swore the Twins had a guy named Kevin Fulvey during that time. And for the longest time, like I had spent time trying to Google to figure out who the hell is this guy. And I think I finally found who he was one of these days.
It was, I remember we looked it up and his last name was Mulvey, not Fulvey.
Oh, Mulvey. That's right. Fucking blew my mind. Kevin Mulvey. Yeah, he of 2 games for the Diamondbacks in 2010 and 8 games for the Twins in 2009. But anyway, talk more about Kevin Slowey.
Well, sadly, Kevin Mulvey is not available in this draft. But basically, there were 2 players. Normally, when we play the game of what player do you associate with this other player, it's players who either had a moment together or players who were teammates together for a long time. But for me, the 2 players who I will always associate together are Laffy Slowey. Because they faced off each other one matchup in 2008. I found the box score a couple years later. And I thought I was 9 or 10, and I thought it was the funniest thing ever. And I still think it's the funniest thing ever. It's Laffy Slowey. And a couple years later, Drew Smiley debuted, and he was also in that division. And yeah, Slowey. His name is Slowey.
His name is Slowey. Oh man, great pick. Who's your next pick?
That's a good question. I've got a lot of people. There are a lot of ways I can go with this. I could take a former Reds legend. He's high on my list. I could take another former Reds legend. He's also high on my list. Let's see here. I'm going to take another guy with a funny name. I am taking Reds minor league outfielder Fidel Castro.
Is that actually his name? Oh, that's amazing.
Fidel Castro. Yeah, he was, when we did the mock winter meetings last year, I traded him to Felipe.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. No, it's great. Fidel Castro, welcome to the Cincinnati. Welcome to the Canada Cans.
Welcome to the Canada Cans. I'm going to say one word, and I'm going to see if you can guess my next pick. Spaghetti.
Alfredo Simon? He's already been taken.
Oh, okay.
It is a big pasta.
Pasta in general.
Yeah, that's pasta in general is Alfredo Simon.
Oh, fucking hell.
Or David Pasternak, who does not play in this league.
John Andrioli.
Oh, John Andrioli. I guess that does sound like a type of pasta.
Well, do you remember Greg? Greg would always joke that he was like Italian.
Okay. I mean, he's presumably Italian, right?
Yeah, and he kept bouncing back between the Orioles and the Mariners, and it was like really funny for a while. It was kind of a meme. Hold on. Let me see if I want to pick this one guy for my next pick before I commit. Oh, are you ready for a good fun fact?
Yes, of course.
Or actually, let's play a guessing game here, because this guessing game actually involves you.
Interesting.
EBO has agreed to trade Alec Boehm to abort Pujols for Matt Olson. And who was the second player?
It's one of the 2 White Sox outfielders who I guess are linked in my mind. It's either Mika Rodolfo or Luis Alexander Basabe, and I'm going to guess Basabe.
It is Basabe, and that is my pick.
Excellent.
Remember how much of a meme he was, just kind of getting picked up and dropped out all the time? He was like, oh, look, it's Luis Alexander Basabe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, those were the good old days. I didn't want to just keep taking Orioles, so I thought Basabe would be a fun kind of interlude. Luis Alexander Basabe. Legend.
All right. I am up again. And there are a few people I can take with this pick. What I am going to take just a classic remember this name guy. Remember Junior Lake?
Yes, he was with the Orioles. He was traded for I think we traded Tommy Hunter to the Cubs for him. Junior Lake, if you've ever like been bored at YouTube at like 2 a.m. and you look up like MLB worst injuries, he ran into like the right field wall, like knee first in Chicago, and like just shredded his leg. But yeah, he appeared in 8 games. I think he hit a walk-off homer during that time. This was in 2015. We eventually got Tommy Hunter back, but
yeah, I remember he was with the Cubs, kind of had some hype going for him in 2014, 2013, I want to say.
Yeah. When the Orioles designated Travis Snyder for assignment in 2015, Junior Lake was the one who was called up.
Huh, that's cool.
Yeah. And thank God Travis Snyder is retired. He can't victimize a team ever again. Junior Lake. That's a great pick. I love that for you.
All right. With my next pick, I'm going to take another Reds pitcher who made me sad a lot of times. And this is, I remember he gave up a walk-off grand slam to Adam Rosales. I also remember the Reds had a 4-0 lead in the 9th inning against the Cardinals, and he blew the game and hit Yadier Molina with a pitch with the bases loaded to walk off. And I still remember Molina's stupid fucking face as he got hit by the pitch and walked over to first. And oh my God, I hate him. And the guy who hit him is Ross Ollendorf.
Ross Ollendorf. He was in here?
He was in here.
And I missed him?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I would have picked Ross Ollendorf. Oh, that's a great name. Oh man, great pick.
Yeah, the Dorf. He just
Dorf.
one of many. I believe this was 2016? He was with the Reds, I believe so. Just one of the awful parade of relievers on that team that couldn't get anybody out.
Oh man, Ross Ollendorf. Great pick.
All right, and you have your final 2 picks.
Oh man, there's a lot of pressure here knowing it's the last 2. I was hoping I kind of had like an idea of who the last one should be, just this like iconic guy that like we both forgot. That would have been epic. Oh man. Do I want to end with a happy story or a sad story?
Well, you got 1 pick before you can end with story. Maybe you go sad first, then happy.
You know what? I do need a backup outfielder, and this is kind of weird that I'm going to, or backup infielder, and this is weird I'm going to do this, but I strangely really liked him, and I'm going to have some fun stories to tell about Steve Lombardozzi. Remember him?
Okay. I do remember him. That's a good pick.
Steve Lombardozzi was in the Doug Fister deal, which to me never made any sense. It was like Doug Fister, like 2 years of him for like Ian Kroll, Steve Lombardozzi, and let's see if I can figure out who else was in that deal. Robbie Ray was in that deal, funnily enough. But I think everybody was kind of questioning at the time, like, why the hell did the Tigers trade 2 years of Doug Fister for this? Also, fun fact, Steve Lombardozzi was from pretty close to where I grew up. He's from Columbia, Maryland, very close to where I grew up. He went to a high school where I had a bunch of friends who went to. But I always kind of thought of Steve Lombardozzi as like the little brother of like Ian Desmond and Danny Espinosa, because he was kind of like the middle infielder that like played behind them. You know, like if Ian Desmond and Danny Espinosa ever had a baby, it'd be Steve Lombardozzi, which would be really weird in any other context. But I think you strangely get it.
I think I do.
Strangely, what made no sense to me is Lombardozzi got traded to the Orioles for Alex Gonzalez. Remember Alex Gonzalez?
Which I remember that there were two Alexes Gonzalez.
This one was the shortstop. He played for the Reds from 07 to 09.
Okay, I think, yeah, that one.
So the
they
Orioles,
were both shortstops. But,
the Orioles had signed him as a minor league like free agent like earlier that month, and then we're like, hey, we'll trade him happily for like Steve Lombardozzi. And Lombardozzi was up there the first month. This is what Manny Machado, if you remember, in 2013, he like shredded his legs. It was like Lombardozzi, Scope, and Ryan Flaherty was like our second and third base, and we kind of were cycling through them. And then Machado came back, and I thought, like, all right, they're going to send down Scope. He got a little bit of seasoning, but he still needs some more work. He wasn't hitting that well. They sent down Lombardozzi. I was really bummed about that, and they called up Jamiel Weeks. I was like, what the fuck? You're calling up Jamiel Weeks over Steve Lombardozzi? It's devastated. But Machado came back. Lombardozzi kind of became irrelevant, and Lombardozzi was playing up through 2019. Actually, he's playing now with the Long Island Ducks of the Atlantic League of Professional Baseball. He did last year. So good for Steve Lombardozzi. He last played in the majors in 2017 with the Marlins. That's my story. Steve Lombardozzi.
Steve Lombardozzi.
That was a doozy of a story.
All right. You got one more pick here. Make it a good one.
Yeah. We'll make this a happy story. I'm taking Boog Powell, who's an outfielder for the A's.
Boog Powell, great one. Great final pick.
Now, if you recall, Boog Powell was also the name of a former Orioles first baseman. He was a four-time All-Star, two-time World Series champion, and he was an AL MVP. One of my dad's patients was related to Boog Powell, and when I was younger, I had gotten a ball in a major league game. The only ball I've ever gotten from a major league game. The Orioles, I believe they were playing the Rangers that day. And my dad was like, hey, like one of my patients is related to Boog Powell. If you give me this ball, Boog Powell will sign it. And sure enough, Boog Powell signed it. And I now have a ball signed by the Oriole Boog Powell. He currently owns Boog's Barbecue out in Camden Yards. It's one of the famous food spots. And the Oakland A's outfielder, who was named Boog Powell, who also played for the Mariners, so 1/3 Gallardo.
And the Reds. He was on the Reds of spring training.
And the Reds in spring training. So he was like a 1.5 third or a 1/2 Gallardo. He's had 2 stints with the Athletics, including one traded for Yonder Alonso. So
I also believe he's been busted for steroids.
Oh, that would be sad if he was. Yeah, he was 80-game suspension in 2016 and a 50-game suspension while in the minors with the A's there in his first stint. He was also involved in that Ben Zobrist trade where he went to the A's. Ben Zobrist and Uni Escobar went to the A's for Boog Powell, John Jaso, and Daniel Robertson. Regardless, I have very fond memories of the AL MVP Boog Powell. And fun fact, Oakland A's Boog Powell shares that name with his dad, his grandfather, and his great-grandfather. It's no Boof. I still think Boof is the best name, but Boog Powell is also great. And that was my final pick. But you get the final pick over all of the drafts. You get Mr. Irrelevant. And who is that going to be?
Yeah, I'm going to take Mr. Relevant. I thought the best player to take with Mr. Relevant is just someone with a stupid name. I am taking Owen Sharts. I can't say his name without laughing. His name is Owen Sharts.
Damn. Did we really shart to end the draft? Man, that's great.
His name is a complete sentence. Owen is the subject and Sharts is the verb.
Oh man, that's great. You know what? That's a very fitting way to end this draft. I don't think we could have picked a better one. I went a little sentimental. You went with just Sharts.
I went with Sharts. Yeah, what more is there to say? But who were some guys who were left on near the top of your board who you would have taken had the draft been a little longer?
All right, so Tim Beckham has been my player queue since I had Gordon Beckham there, and I was like, oh, I could take Tim Beckham and Gordon Beckham. Andrew and I watched Tim Beckham this summer when we went to the Charlotte Knights game, and it was kind of a meme, like us watching him. We're like, yeah, I remember Tim Beckham, like a 2/3 Gallardo. We're like rooting for him heavily every time he played. I think one of us picked him as our player to watch that game. We each picked one, I think.
Yeah, the other one of you picked Jake Berger.
I think so, yeah. Jimmy Paredes was also on my board. He was like an Oriole DH for like a hot sec in like 2015. It was weird. There was like a point where Buck Showalter basically trusted him above every other batter other than Manny Machado. Machado was batting leadoff then, and then it was like Paredes batting second, but he couldn't play the field. That was his whole thing, and he didn't really last too long. Jeremy Bonderman was on here too. It's just like a fun old Tiger pitcher. Back in the days when it was like Jeremy Bonderman and Dontrell Willis, and I'm sure there's a couple other guys I'm forgetting. There's definitely one name who I always associated with Jeremy Bonderman I'm forgetting. Zach White.
Robertson.
Who?
Something Robertson.
Oh, Robertson. Yeah. That's exactly who it was.
Yeah.
And then Zach Weiss is on my board because you mentioned him earlier, and I thought you would take him at one point, but then I put him in my player queue just for fun. Let's see if there's any others in here. I thought Scrabble would have been a fun player to take at some point.
He was high on my board.
Just never got around to it. Bungo Park. Remember his 1 year with the Twins? I really wanted the Orioles to sign him, and it never quite worked out.
I do.
Jesus Montero, who was like second or third on that list you pulled up earlier in the draft.
Good pick.
Jeff Neiman. Do you remember Jeff Neiman?
I do remember Jeff Neiman. He was.
I always thought Jeff
Neiman
never got what he. Yeah, he's a first round pick, 4th overall. I never thought that he ended up getting the chance that he deserved, and I was a little bummed about that. The Pride of Pigtown, Steve Clevenger. I considered him, but he was quickly figured out to be a racist and like basically banished from the league.
Oh,
so, yeah, didn't pick him. Don't need that on my team. Caleb Joseph was one of my favorite Orioles. Ryan Lavarnway. I mean, there's so many backup catchers here. Mark Pryor. Remember Mark Pryor?
I do. Mark Pryor.
Jemile Weeks is on this list, but fuck Jemile Weeks. You took Steve Lombardozzi's job, and I'm still salty about it. Paul Maholm. Do you remember him?
Yeah, Paul Maholm was on my list.
There was one off season where I really wanted the Orioles to sign him so badly. This is like 2010 or 2011, and they didn't, but I was like, he would be the perfect fit for them, and I think he ended up just busting that here. Let's see if I was right. No, maybe not. That might have been a year. That was either the year he had a 3.66 ERA or the year he had a 5.10 ERA. Either way, the Orioles weren't good, but he pitched a lot of innings, so he probably would have been helpful. Also, when you search up Paul Maholm, he was a Red.
Was he?
Yeah, in 2015. He never made the major league team, but before trading, that was the last news about him. When you search him up, Luke Hochevar is an article about him comes up. Do you remember him?
I do, yeah. Former #1 pick.
Also, just these two sentences in that article are really fun because a lot of these guys are guys I was considering picking. That is ostensibly what happened to Ross Detweiler this year. I was also considering him. It also happened to Paul Maholm, Brad Peacock, Justin Grimm, Chris Capuano, and Samuel DeDuno. Others mentioned in this article include Glenn Perkins. Remember, I think he was a closer for the Twins at one point. He took over for Joe Nathan. Luke
He
Hochevar.
was. I'm pretty sure he threw me a ball at a game.
Oh, nice. See, I love that story.
Yeah.
Remember Danny's Baez?
Yes, the plural of Danny Baez.
Yeah, I hated him on the Orioles for some reason. I always thought he was just trying to take Chris Ray's job for no good reason.
I don't know who Chris Ray is.
He was at the Orioles for hot sec. We traded him for Kevin Millwood. He was supposed to be our good closer. Then he got Tommy John. George Sherrill came in. I'm sure you remember George Sherrill. I have a ball signed by George Sherrill, fun fact. Ryan Vogelsong is in this article. Miguel Batista. I just mentioned a bunch of names. Why don't you mention some of your names?
Yeah, so the top name on my list was Josh Hamilton. He was near the top of my list for a long time, but I never really. He was actually 15th on my board, but I figured he was probably a little too high. I never felt really interested in pulling the trigger on him. Omar Infante was there. Cliff Lee.
Oh, I love Omar Infante. I Cliff Lee too.
Yeah. Zach Weiss, of course. Gil Mesh was a guy I probably would have taken if we had a few more.
Gil Mesh was on the board. I would have taken Gil Mesh. What the?
Yeah.
No. Remember when he retired and he was like, "I don't deserve this $11 million. I'm just gonna retire."
Yeah. Gil Mesh.
Gil Mesh.
But I guess he didn't technically retire because he's in Fantrax.
Huh? Yeah. Actually, that's kind of weird because that was his whole thing. He was like, "I'm not worth the $11 million. The Royals are gonna pay me, so I'm just gonna retire." That definitely happened. I'm not making that up.
Yeah, I don't know. Some other names: Kevin Quackenbush, Tom Gorzolani.
Oh, I didn't know he was here too. Tom Gorzolani was another one I wanted to be an Oriole for like a hot second, and I don't know why.
God, yeah, I almost took him. Clint Barnes, Chris Heisey.
They were both on this list?
Yeah.
Clint Barnes. Oh my God. And Chris Heisey. Great names.
Yeah, Heisey, if I wanted more Reds. John Lannon.
Oh, I love John.
Not Lannon. John Lennon, John Lannon.
I love John Lannon. I always thought he got like a rough, I think it was like 2012. So like I remember he was a Nats ace like forever. And then like in 2012, he lost a job. It might have been like to Ross Detweiler for the fifth starter job. And this is when they were finally getting a good rotation. And they sent him to the minors. And I was like, you have never done anybody more dirty than you did John Lannon. I thought it was an absolute travesty that they sent John Lannon down. I thought he absolutely, like, no way John Lannon should not have been in that rotation. Like it was it made sense to me.
Do you remember
John Lannon actually had a couple of good years. He had a 391 ERA and a 388. He had a 465. He's coming off a season with a 370 ERA and 33 starts that they sent him down.
Okay. Do you remember Mike Fontenot?
Yes, Mike Fontenot. I think fun fact. I think he was an Oriole.
Okay. Yeah.
He was in the Orioles organization, and he was traded along with Jerry Hairston Jr.'s for Dave Crothers, a right-handed pitcher, and Sammy Sosa.
Sammy Sosa. Another guy on my list. He's a guy. One of my favorite baseball stories. So in 2017. Amazon published a list of most often searched for baseball players via Alexa. And the top 9 through 2 were Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, popular people would search for back in 2017. But number 1 by quite a bit was Tyler Moore, the number 1 most searched for baseball player on Amazon Alexa. And people were very confused. Why is Tyler Moore? He was a first baseman for the Nationals.
Oh, I think I might remember him. I'm thinking of Tyler White. Never mind. Go ahead.
And do you have a guess as to why Tyler Moore was the most searched for baseball player in 2017?
Just a generic name?
Because in 2017, that was the year that Mary Tyler Moore died. and Amazon was including searches for her in their results. And that put him number 1.
That's a great story. You should have let off of that story.
I should have. Well, I'm closing with a story, I guess.
That's great.
Couple other names I'm going to rapid fire through. Jeff Decker, Jimmy Rollins, Corey Hart, Casey Kelly. I said he was the first prospect I ever remember being aware of.
Interesting. And he wasn't on my board.
Yeah, he had two-way potential. They were saying, oh, he could be a two-way player. He was not.
I do remember that part.
Chris Parmelee.
Yes, he was an Oriole for a hot sec. Oh my God, it was like him and Chris Davis. They're like, who's going to play first? Who's going to play the outfield? We thought Chris Parmelee could be a thing, and then he just never was a thing. I didn't know he was here.
Kevin Franzen, Matt Gamble, Joel Zumaya, Cliff Pennington, Phil Hughes, and Kobe Clemens, son of Roger.
Oh, man, that's great. I have a couple more. I'm kind of mad I didn't select Joe Saunders. I thought about him early. and he was like one of my top pitchers. And then I just was like, oh, he's not going to take him. And I kept getting caught up with other names. But Joe Saunders started the first ever playoff game that I got to watch for the Orioles, 2012 AL wildcard game, the first wildcard game in history, which was won by Joe Saunders and the Orioles. So very fond memories of Joe Saunders. Probably would have taken him over Joakim Soria because I was able to get Delman Young later. Hayden Hurst was a first-round pick for the Ravens and is currently playing tight end for the Falcons and is in this list.
Oh, Hayden Hurst. Yeah, speaking of Hayden Hurst, I have Pat Connaughton on my list, who's a
He was on my
guard for
list
the
too.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, that was the next name I was going to say. He's playing for the Milwaukee Bucks right now. Brandon Irby went to my high school. He was an Orioles prospect. He's now long gone. Wade LeBlanc. Julio Bourbon, remember him? He kind of reminds me of like a past version of Leody Taveras.
Okay. You talked about a guy who went to your high school. I looked up the one player from my high school who has ever played in the minors. Terry Doyle. He is available. So I'm giving an honorary draft pick to him. He topped out in AAA, actually in the Orioles system, but he never made the majors. He would have been the first one from my high school.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Pablo Sandoval was also on my list. Ryan Rayburn. Karan Patel, because that sounded like an Indian name, and I don't think Indian baseball players actually exist. Logan Odruznik, who for some reason he got into a major league contract in the middle of the year, and he like really busted. I also remember him as a Red.
Yeah, Logan Ondrusek, he was great. I associate him and Sam LeCure together.
That's interesting. I can see that.
Yeah, well, they were middle relievers for those teams.
Oh man, David Hale, just like random reliever who I feel like is just always showing up somewhere. He's also Jewish.
Okay.
I remember. Do you ever play MLB Perfect Inning on a iPhone?
Maybe briefly, and I thought it was dumb, so I stopped.
It was pretty dumb, but like David Hale, like so it's weird. There's like very few like long reliever cards, and he was one of them. So David Hale is my long reliever in that game, but it was really dumb. Jeff Hartley, because you and I had talked about him recently, it was also on my list. Sean Gallagher, Logan Forsythe, Dana Eveland, Michael Flacco, the brother of Joe Flacco, is briefly in the Orioles organization. Jeff Fiorentino, who was called up from like low A to the majors for the Orioles at one point for some reason. It was like the oldest player I could find on this list. I think the last time he played was in like 08 or 09. Troy Bacon, just because of the name. Clay Buchholz. Matt Engel. TJ McFarland, Orioles legend. Koji Uehara, I also had on the list. I was going to talk about the time that Jamie Walker, remember Jamie Walker?
No.
Jamie Walker was like a reliever for everyone. By the time he was at the Orioles, he looked like he was like 50 years old. But he gifted him a pair of cowboy boots. And this was back when like Koji couldn't speak a lick of English. Seth Smith, who was traded for Giovanni Gallardo. Jeremy Ricardo, who the Orioles randomly signed to a 1-year, $1.08 million deal. For some reason, I remember that number exactly. He was really bad and got DFA'd. Fun fact, he was in the same bullpen as Kevin Gregg. And Joaquin Arias, who was traded for A-Rod. And I remember him and Elvis Andrews coming up at the same time. And for some reason, I was like, you got to give Joaquin Arias a chance. They never really gave him a chance. He's with the Giants. I think one of those years they won the World Series. And I was like, good for him for getting a World Series ring, but Joaquin Arias. And one more I'll throw out, Tsuyoshi Wada, who the Orioles signed the same offseason as Koji, never actually pitched for the Orioles because of injury and ineffectiveness, and then had like a weirdly like good month with the Cubs back when they were bad, and maybe actually a full good year at like the age of 33. No, he had like a 3.25 ERA, 69 to third innings in 2014 for them, and then like 32 and a third innings in 2015. Now we're good, but for some reason spent most of the year in the minors. And I don't have much more to add, or
Right.
if you asking me more to add, I'll keep talking forever, so I will shut up.
Yes, this episode, it's going to be well over 2 hours, maybe 2.5.
I mean, we started recording around 8. It's now 11:15.
Oh my God. This one, basically, we go off on so many tangents. A lot of the time I have to cut them out. I kind of wanted this episode to be a safe space for tangents. We had a lot of fun. I don't know if anyone's going to listen to this.
I don't care. I had fun doing this with you.
I had fun too.
That is all that matters. This might be by far the favorite episode that we've ever recorded. Also, while we're on the topic of Orioles backup catchers, Chad Muller, he was not in this player pool, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention him. Cam keeps cutting him from every episode. When I mention Chad Muller, I figure now is the time to mention Chad Muller and get a free pass on this tangent. Chad Muller was the backup for Greg Zahn in 2008 while we were waiting for Matt Wieters to come up. Maybe it was 2009. Let me double check on that.
And we're out of time.
No. This is
right, I want to thank everyone for listening.
Away Greg Zahn.
It's been a great episode. We all had a lot of fun recording this. And take care of each other. We'll see you next time.
I hate you. Chad Muller, baby. You know what? I'm going to record an episode just called The Chatter to Muller.
Oh, man.
And I'm going to put it on. I'm still waiting for the current major leaguer, once that player comes up, that I can mention my fun Chad Muller fact. You can't take it out because it's actually relevant.
All right. I guess I won't be able to, and I guess I'm gonna keep this in on this one part. I have to
because you talked over me, so you could hear the sound of your own voice for a little bit. But Chad Muller, what a
But anyway, is there anything else we want to talk about?
No, because otherwise I'm going to keep talking about the history of Orioles backup catchers when I'm younger, like Guillermo Quiros, and we're just not going to, I'm not going to shut up, and it's going to be like 3 a.m, and you're going to be asleep at your computer, and I'm still talking, and I won't even know you're asleep, because I'll talk for 5 straight hours, just like the Cabin Biggio rant.
Just like the Cabin Biggio rant, or the many, many Chad Muller rants. But yeah, no, if that's all we had, we should link our teams somewhere in the description for the episode. Maybe we can have people vote on which one of our teams is better. I don't know.
We should. I've a feeling I know who they're going to vote for, but maybe it's you, maybe it's me.
Maybe. Hopefully it's me. I mean, I don't know. I like my team a lot. I'm pretty happy with how the draft worked out. I got all 4 of my top guys.
Yeah, I'm still disappointed I did not see Booth Bonser. He would have been a great pick, as would DJ Neal.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next time, have a happy January, and don't get boofed out there.
And we will see you next week when we discuss how the draft went, which hopefully should be a shorter episode for your sake.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Yeah. If I wasn't rapping, baby, I would still be around Mercedes. I knew it was less so related. I was overrated. If you pop that pill, remember, it's full like I was in 50s. If you want that cup, remember, it's full like
this podcast is good.